Hello and welcome to Sunflower Philosophy Tarot. My name is Juliana, and today's pick a card reading is going to be facilitating a conversation between your head and your heart. So, in our world today, I feel like we've all heard those sayings about following your heart or trusting your heart, or then equally also following your head, trusting your logic, right? And a lot of times, there could be kind of like mixed messaging around that or confusion around that, because sometimes people are like, oh, don't trust your heart. Your heart, will get you hurt, right? But other people are like, no, you got to trust your heart. Don't trust your head. Your head will like make you overthink. Your head will keep you stuck and limited. And there can be a tendency to even villainize one aspect of us or the other. And that is, even if whichever, sayings that we buy into more or whatever we believe to be true about how we should live our lives, aside from all of that, it's also the question of what do we really mean when we're talking about our head versus our heart, right? And so in my experience / opinion, it's really about not just like your physical head, like your brain and your physical heart. It's about what those represent and what those do for you physically and also energetically. So it's like not just your brain, but also your mental space, your mind, the less physical sort of manifestation of your thinking organ, right? And then your heart, it's like tapped into your more emotional and even like passionate or even just like physical body realm, like the part of you that's moved to action by emotions sometimes, or feels drawn to things without your mind knowing necessarily why, right? Things, people, stuff like that. And so it's a really integral part of your intuition. But I also strongly feel that both aspects of us are important and both aspects of us are necessary in the process of making decisions and in living our lives to their fullest. So a lot of us tend to be cut off from, especially our hearts, I feel. And it can take the form of just feeling like apathetic or depressed. Sometimes if we're really in our heads all the time too, if we're really cut off from our hearts, we're overthinking a lot. We're trying to logic things to make things make sense, and a lot of times we just make ourselves more confused, right? Being cut off from your heart, it can be like, having a blockage in your heart chakra in terms of feeling maybe less motivated or feeling just disconnected from the people around us, maybe more selfish, maybe more protective, maybe more jealous, those kinds of things. And then also, if we are too in our heads all the time, we're not tapped into our bodies either. And I've kind of made more of an emphasis on that recently on this channel in certain readings, because I feel like a lot of people have been feeling maybe a little disconnected from their bodies, and that's something that's really important for us, because we not only live in our bodies and they sustain us, and their health is important to how we function, but also that's where a lot of our intuition actually happens. It's not just in our head and in our higher chakras, it's like all of it. So it's all important. And so yeah, if you have been feeling a little disconnected lately, or for some of you, you might not even know what it's like to feel connected to your heart, right? There could be a range here. Some people might have been feeling cut off recently because of something happening, like some kind of grief. Some people could be having the experience of just feeling a little more apathetic than usual, or just confused, maybe not sure what choice to make on certain decisions in their lives. And that can be a sign of just being a little cut off or confused. And other people might actually be like, I don't even know what it means to be connected with my heart, right? I don't know if I have been before, or like what it even is all about. So it doesn't matter who you are. This could be a really beneficial and interesting reading for you. I want this to be kind of an exploration, right? A jumping off point for you to explore yourself more deeply, because when I tapped into this kind of energy for myself, and I was like, okay, like let me like talk to my head and my heart and like see what's going on there. I was actually kind of surprised at how clear some messages were, and how it really did feel like these were actually two parts of me that while separate are also, at once combined, but also we're definitely having communication issues and having like personality differences that then it was actually really helpful to acknowledge, almost like they were bickering like an old married couple, right? And there were some things that I might need to set straight between the two. So it's really interesting when you tap in and really listen to yourself, what you discover, and how much more alive your body, your mind, like all of these things are, and like how much you could be not even aware of going on within you at all times. And it's actually kind of fun and nice, even if it is also a little bit emotional sometimes to really tap into that and listen to it. So I wanted to have that be an experience for the listeners as well, because I think it might be fun, because it was kind of fun for me and enlightening for sure. So yeah, and even with your mind, you might think, oh, well, I'm like in my mind all the time, right? So I should know what's going on in there. But even there, sometimes we're so up close and personal with certain thought patterns or ways of thinking that we're not even really consciously experiencing our minds. They're just kind of running. So this can be an opportunity to step back and see what's going on there. So now, what I'm going to do is, these are the groups. I will get to them in a minute. I do want to do the centering exercise I've been doing at the beginning of the previous few readings, because especially in this one, like that's a really good way to get connected with your heart. And in fact, the exercise is kind of adapted from one that I read in this book called The Hidden Power of the Five Hearts by Kimberly Snyder, which I mentioned here. I'll put the title in the description so that if you want to look into the book, that you can do that. But that's one of the things that inspired this, because it's all about, meditating into your heart, tapping into your heart, and connecting your heart and your brain so that they can work more effectively together, and essentially helping you gain new perspective in your life, and also just like calm your nervous system, set yourself back to like a baseline that's steadier than maybe if you're in survival mode a lot, then like something like that, get you out of your head and get you more in touch with life and what you really want to be doing and how you really want to be living. So that could be a useful tool for some of you. So that book will be I'll just put the name of it in the description if you want to check it out. But that's where I originally got the idea for the centering exercise, even though it's very similar to things that you might have encountered in other places. So with all that said, let's do the exercise now. And of course, if you do want to just move along to the pile selection or to your groups, you can do that. But those of you joining me for the exercise, let's begin. Okay, so if you are seated, please feel free to just sit back and close your eyes. If you're in the middle of something, you don't have time, or you're walking around, you can still tune in, just, make sure that you're paying attention to what needs to be paid attention to. And especially if you're doing anything like driving or an activity of any kind, don't close your eyes and maybe come back to this another time. But yes, if you are able to just bring your attention more inward and close your eyes and get comfortable, please do so. And first, bring your attention to your breathing. Just notice the breath flowing in and out. And as you do so, feel a greater sense of relaxation washing over your body. And maybe feel your breathing becoming a bit slower, more even, and even deeper. And just enjoy the sensation of your breath for a moment. And if you feel called to, allow your attention to drift down into your heart center, into your chest. And just notice what you might feel there. And you could feel any number of sensations. And if you feel the need to label those, you may. Or you may just want to sit with them and let them be. And at this time, you may begin to imagine that you are actually breathing in through your heart space and exhaling out through your heart space. And as you continue to allow whatever sensations you feel there, you may also feel called at this time to ask if there are any messages that your heart has for you. Just allow whatever comes up to come up. You can analyze or think about it later, but just let anything that comes to mind or any feelings that come to you, let them just be there. And now you will remember anything that you need to remember from this moment, from the messages that your heart may have just given you. And even if you didn't become aware of anything particularly new, you may continue to keep your attention directed towards your heart space as you listen to this reading, so that you can feel more connected to the messages that are truly meant for you, and you can get a better idea of what's really in your heart and what is truly meant for you, and allow anything that is not to simply drift past you. And now I hope you feel more centered and relaxed and ready for your reading, because I will be getting into the pile selection now. So, I have 4 groups for this reading today, and I have 4 new crystals, actually, that I recently got that are making their debut in this reading, which is exciting. So, we are going to start off with group 1 here with this pink and green aqua, no, it's not aqua. I don't know why I said aqua. I meant to say aura, pink and green aura quartz, which is very pretty. We also have this rose quartz. Lovely. We have this nice hunk of clear quartz. And we have this pleasant little cherry quartz. So, take your time, go down to the description box, select your reading, and I will see you in your group. Hi group 1, if you selected this pretty pink and green aura quartz, then you're in the right place, and this is your reading, which will be a conversation between your head and your heart. So I did pre-pull this moon card, but I'm going to put that out to the side. We're going to look at that later. And instead, first, we're going to get into just the cards for your head and your heart. I'm going to pull them now on camera. And as I'm doing this, before I get into the reading itself, please feel free to focus on if there's a specific topic or question or decision that you've been trying to make lately that you've been confused about. You could feel free to focus on that, and you may receive some answers here. Or you can just stay open-minded to whatever wants to come through and just see what your head and your heart have to say to each other and to you. So it's up to you. And as always, please use your own intuition and your own discernment, and you will know what messages are truly meant for you, and you can leave anything that's not to everyone else. So let's start by pulling a card for your head. So, all right, group 1's head. What do you want group 1's heart to know? What? Ooh, okay, that flew out. So we have the 10 of rings, which is also known as the 10 of pentacles. And then group 1's heart. What message do you have for group 1's head? What do you want group 1's head to know? What is going on in this conversation between the two of you? Oh, okay. We have the angel in reverse. So the strength card in reverse. And then for the energy between the two of you, what is that looking like right now? What's going on between the two of you? That one didn't pop out right away, so we're gonna just put it back in if it's meant to pop. Okay, this one did pop out right away, so we're gonna put this here. All right, so we have the 10 of rings, which I said is the 10 of pentacles as well. The angel, which I said is the strength card, and that is in reverse. And then we have the 6 of steels, we're going to pronounce it steals. I know if you are familiar with the characters and the book series these cards are from, I know it can be pronounced many different ways. I'm going with steals. That just sounds better to me. But that is also known as the Six of Wands. So let's see. Interesting. Okay. So it feels like your head and your heart might, I mean, based on the energy between them, it feels like y'all might be getting along, actually. Like, it almost feels like you've, like, united or reunited on something recently. Like, you've come to some kind of conclusion. Now, with the Ten of Pentacles in your headspace, that's a very, to me, expansive perspective, and specifically it could be an expansive perspective around the physical world, around like your prospects. So it could be very much about your money prospects, your physical world, your abundance in the physical world. And for those of you who it's not necessarily specifically about that, it could be that you've been making a decision recently that will impact your physical abundance, your financial abundance, even if you haven't actually acted on it yet, or it hasn't come to fruition yet. You could be acting with your broader future in mind. I also want to put down on the bottom of the deck we have the card the Scientist, which is in this pack. It's like card 22, like of the major arcana, which isn't in most decks, and it's described as like an extra fool card, kind of. I like that. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, your mind though, like I just heard like your mind's on your money or something like that. So maybe for a lot of you it is something to do with your like wealth or physical abundance. But it seems like perhaps you've come to some kind of resolution or conclusion lately around your finances, or some kind of new perspective, because it's also the 10. So we're at the end of a cycle, and at the end of one cycle, and at the beginning of another. So perhaps you have really had a perspective shift recently, or made a decision recently around your finances that is making changes, that is broadening your perspective on what abundance can even be. Yeah. And with the Angel in reverse, now this could... See, the thing is, with the card being in reverse, my first instinct might be to suggest that there is some kind of blockage with your heart here. Like maybe there's a blockage in your heart chakra specifically that you've been processing, which can often be felt as like sometimes like pressure in your chest space, or even like sometimes difficulty breathing. Now, of course, if you're feeling any of these symptoms and you feel like something's wrong, like go see a doctor. This isn't, I'm not giving medical advice here, but sometimes I do experience those kinds of things when there's some kind of energy moving through that maybe is blocked or stuck, and I'm working through something. I do notice that. So for those of you for whom that resonates, and that that that's a thing that you experience, you could take that as a confirmation. But because the energy around it feels very uplifting, like especially the energy between your head and your heart feels very uplifting, I feel that this is something that is being worked through, or has been worked through. And there's also a message that, because with the Strength card, sometimes upright, it can to me represent, it can sometimes represent like ego. It feels like there's maybe been some kind of, like you've just gotten past some kind of ego test. I almost said ego test. So I don't know, maybe there was something that happened recently that like tested your ego almost, or ego blockage. And when I say that, in terms of the ego, I think of, that's your mental protector, right? That's your personality. And sometimes the ego can really get in our way, because the old ideas of who we are, the old limiting beliefs that we might have, are no longer serving us. And so that's why sometimes we have a little bit of a crisis, or it doesn't have to be a crisis. It could just be a perspective shift. It depends on how you experience it and what's going on in the moment, how you perceive it. But where certain limiting beliefs just fall away, or we shift out of them, or we're forced to shift out of them. So it feels like that may be what has happened recently that has allowed some kind of reunion, like victory between your head and your heart. Now, we're going to get into this bit more with some quotes and songs. So if there's anything deeper going on here, like if there are any blockages or any issues in communication here, we're going to address those now. And we're also just going to see what messages your head and your heart have for you. So I'm going to start by pulling 3 songs for each. And then we're also going to get 3 quotes, and we'll talk about them. So, all right, let's start with your heart this time. So 3 quotes, 3 songs from your heart. Okay, that's all 3 came out at once. Now I'm going to take those. And 3 songs from your head to your heart, please. 3 songs. Okay. Interesting. Something else that I'm getting, if you are not resonating with, like, there could have been some energies of your head dominating your heart in the recent past or even currently in a way that maybe you've become aware of, even, like, where maybe your ego has been overprotective of you and it's been getting in the way of you listening to your heart, and there might still be some pain over that. Now, because the 6 of Steels or 6 of Wands in this deck, first of all, it's a victory card, but because it also shows a happy romantic couple, I can confirm that is what they are, and they're a very sweet couple from the book series on this deck, and so does the 10 of Rings also depicts a happy romantic couple as well. It feels like there's a union here, or it could also be that your mind is maybe has just is just getting on board with reuniting with your heart, like uniting with your heart on something that maybe you've been having disagreements about for a long time, if that makes sense. Let's get 3 quotes for the head. We'll take that. Okay. And 3 quotes for the heart. One more. See, what's nice about this group is that the cards are coming out very easily, except for that. Like, sometimes the quotes just really explode out because there's so many of them. Oh, okay. Let's get one more for the heart from this other stack of quotes I have, because that might be where it's wanting to get a quote from. Okay, one more quote for the heart, please. One more quote for the group 1's heart. What do they want? Okay, well, yeah, okay. We'll take 2. That's fine. Okay. So yeah, this is a lot of information, so let's go through it. Let's go through it slowly. So we have first song from the head. We have Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name, but if I did, well, really, what's it to ya? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter what you've heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. I don't know why, but for some reason from that song, I got the impression of like waving the white flag or something like that, like some kind of surrender. So maybe, yeah, like I was saying before, maybe you've gone through some kind of ego shift in perspective, ego death, whatever you want to call it, lately that had your mind realizing it needed to surrender something. We also have Iodine by Icon for Hire. I can't make reality connect. I push till I have nothing left. But if we want to wake up, why are we still singing these lullabies? Yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely a feeling of like maybe feeling stuck or having recently felt stuck in some way. And this is the acknowledgement from the mind that it's been feeling stuck for a while. Maybe your mind has been in a rut or has recently shifted out of one. Because like I said, this energy, the 10 of Rings, really does feel very expansive. It feels like if you aren't mentally in this energy yet, that's where this is headed. If you are feeling like you've been having a lot of limiting beliefs come up lately, or you've been feeling mentally stuck or overloaded. We also have I Know It Hurts. And this says, though you lost your way, now is not forever, but I know your pain. We all fall sometimes, you're not the first, but I know it hurts. Yeah, I know it hurts. In the end, you'll find what you deserve. Still, I know it hurts. Yeah, I know it hurts. And I feel like this is the mind acknowledging, like, whatever pain that, okay, so for some of you, you might, especially with the Strength card in reverse, like, your heart might have taken a beating in the past. Like, you might be getting over recovering from some kind of heartbreak, maybe multiple heartbreaks, right? And the feeling I'm almost getting is like maybe your mind has taken over for your heart so that your heart could rest. Like, it feels like it's been through too much, so your mental space, your ego was like, okay, like, you put the sword down, like, I'm going to take up a turn protecting you. And that's something that's important to consider, because a lot of times we can vilify the ego, we can, be like, oh, like, my ego this, my ego that, but the ego gets a bad rep because it is trying to be our protector most of the time, right? So, we'll put limiting beliefs on ourselves because we want to protect ourselves from feeling a heartbreak that we felt in the past again, or grief, or things like that. So an example of that would be if the easiest example is like if you were in some kind of romantic relationship and then it broke up and you were very heartbroken over this, your ego mind might say, oh, okay, well, we don't get emotionally involved with people anymore, or we don't date at all, or we don't, I'm just not meant to have that kind of relationship, or I'm just not meant to be that emotionally involved with people. Let's shut that down, right? And that's just trying to protect you from feeling that like sadness again. It's not trying to get in your way. The thing is, when you've had, gone a certain amount of time where maybe you haven't taken the time to heal, or maybe you need to, like, you get to a place where you need to open up again in order to heal something and then move forward, or you're looking around and you're like, I really actually do want a loving partnership, but I my mind isn't letting me, like, things like that. That's when it becomes a limiting belief. That's when it starts to get in our way, and that's when we can start to feel like our mind is being the villain, right? Like, it's getting in our way, we're overthinking everything, we're limiting ourselves, we're limiting what we believe we're capable of, when in actuality, of course, all of us are much more than just our physical experiences, and we're much more than just, victims of our past and things like that. But, at the time that you experienced your first heartbreak, or at the time you experienced some kind of hurt or pain, especially when you're younger, you're new to that sensation, at least in this lifetime, so you're not used to it, right? And so I feel like this is your mind acknowledging that to your heart, and maybe even standing up for itself a bit, like saying like, hey, like, this is what you asked me to do, like, this is what I needed to do to protect us, and explaining itself, even if you feel like you've recently come back into a more united state with your heart. It's like, this is what was going on with me. This is why I was being so protective of us. And then from your heart, we have the song Home by Cave Town. Often I am upset that I cannot fall in love, but I guess this avoids the stress of falling out of it. Yeah, okay, so your heart is, so I think what I just described, sorry, my voice just got really high, but I think what I just described could be a very real situation for a lot of you, that classic tale of like heartbreak leading to shutting down the heart space a little bit. And so your heart is explaining that it's now, in the case of Cave Town, the person who is singing this also, I believe, identifies as aromantic and asexual. So, that could be part of your identity, your story. And anything I say isn't meant to undermine that, because, for some of you, maybe you aren't looking to fall in love, but maybe you've been cut off from your just loving self in general. And I feel like love is something that's very general and broad. It doesn't have to specifically be romantic. You can have a lot of love in your life and a lot of love to give and not be interested in romantic relationships specifically, because love is bigger than just that one specific definition that we give it, one specific lens that we can look at it through and experience it through. On the other hand, those of you who are like maybe actually wanting to explore romance and love but have felt cut off from that or afraid to get in too deep with a relationship, it's like your heart is expressing that. Or if it's not about love, right? It could be about anything that you want to bring into your life, just more love in general, more abundance in general. It could be saying to you, like, I'm actually upset, like, I want to do this, but I feel like I've been prevented from doing this. Maybe your mind has been preventing it, but maybe your heart has also been a little bit shut down and afraid because of your experiences in the past. And maybe they've been working together to protect you, right? So even if they're both being protective over you, they could be on the same page about that. And at this point, it's helpful for you to know that, like, that they've been working together because they want to protect you. But I also feel like for a lot of you, you're ready to move on to bigger things, to greener pastures, to a state of mind and a state of being that goes beyond just the protective shell that you can put over yourself, and more stepping into your power, feeling empowered and feeling less like a victim of circumstance, which can sometimes happen when we're in that protective mode. We feel like we're constantly under threat, right? And I think these two are now starting to come together and work together in a way that will lead, if it hasn't already led you, it will lead you to feeling safer and more comfortable to put yourself out there, to express yourself. We also have Monster by Paramore, which says, I'll stop the whole world from turning into a monster, eating us alive. Don't you ever wonder how we survive? Well, now that you're gone, the world is ours. Yeah, so there's definitely, like, your head and your heart have both been really protecting each other, protecting you. And we have War Pigs as well. Time will tell on their power minds, making war just for fun, treating people like pawns in chess, wait till their judgment day comes. Yeah. So you might, honestly, okay, like, I mean, I've been talking a lot about, like, obviously it could be a romantic heartbreak. There could be, like, for you, there could have for a long time been a general just cynicism around people, especially, and their motives. And it could come from direct experiences with heartbreak and specific people. And it could also come from the societal stuff that we're all subjected to in terms of, like, okay, in our workspaces, you know, are we treated with respect? Are we encouraged to treat ourselves with respect and each other with respect? Or are we constantly being disrespected? Are we taught to, you know, listen to our true desires, or are we taught to shut them down because we have to focus on someone else's desires instead of our own, right? And so I do feel like maybe a lot of you have spent a lot of time, and this could probably apply to most people, right? But have spent a lot of time in environments or in, like, around a way of thinking that's more cynical, less connected to your true desires. And it's caused you to feel protective and like you need to shut down. And again, no matter what your situation is, if it's a specific person or scenario, or if it's a general attitude, or if it's a general way of thinking, no matter what it's been for you, the protectiveness that's come from that is a natural reaction to that kind of environment, to that kind of treatment, right? So it's not something that needs to be vilified. It's something that, if you can understand it, you can be more gentle with yourself, right? And have a new respect for your mental space and your emotional / heart space. And at the same time, help them and work with them to heal, to move on, to expand into this 10 of Pentacles consciousness, which I believe is really like this mental space is more expansive than the energies that we're really seeing in these song cards. And I feel like that's what you're moving into now, and perhaps already have. And maybe that too, like the reason the Six of Wands here is like a victory card is like, maybe your head and your heart have recently come to the realization that they've both been trying to do the same thing, right? Okay, because sometimes we can feel conflicted where like for example, for me, when I had the experience where I was like, let me like tap into my head and my heart, see what's going on there. I was finding that like they weren't really speaking, like one of them, they both felt abandoned in some way, and both of them felt blamed and victimized by the other, or villainized by the other as well. Like it was kind of like when two people stop talking and you don't really know whose fault it is, but you don't know where things went wrong, right? Like, there's some kind of miscommunication happening. And it's like that realization that, oh, okay, these two different parts of me want the same thing. They want to protect me and they want to keep me safe. And so, like, one of them wants to jump into things and go and, like, charge forward into things because it's like, okay, like, let's defeat this fear. Let's just get over this. Let's just, like, do this thing. And the other part of me is like, no, like, let's be cautious. Let's hold back. Like, let's whatever. And both of them want to protect me because both of them want me to be happy. And so it's, like, realizing that that's all that they've both wanted. They both wanted the same thing. They went about it in different ways, and that led to this disconnect. And now, if they can connect and realize that they've always been on the same page and always wanted the same things, then it's easier to work together and move forward and actually take steps that will benefit both aspects, right? So it's like, it's not like the head has to win or the heart has to win. It's like, we can work together on this. We can respect each other, communicate with each other, and move forward in a way that's respectful of both of us because we both want the same thing, and we both might just need to start listening to each other more in a more measured way, and it's not a power struggle, right? It's like an equal union. And your heart may have been the one to bear the brunt of this. Like, your mind might be there before your heart's gotten there. So your mind might have been charging ahead towards greener pastures, and your heart's like, wait, like, I'm scared, Wait, I'm not ready to do this. And so your heart might just need that time and patience. And practically speaking, doing like that heart breathing exercise that we do at the beginning of these readings can be really helpful for that. Meditating on it for sure. But also just like treating your emotions gently with curiosity, not immediately vilifying them or running away from them, and practicing sitting with them, practicing asking your heart, hey, like, how do you feel about this? What's like really feeling into that. You can envision or imagine it as a personality in and of itself that you're talking directly to, and you might actually be surprised at how well that goes. But that can help your heart get on board, because I feel like they also, both your head and your heart, want to move on to bigger and better things, want to move into the future as well. And I think you spent a lot of time with your mental space, and your heart space is just needing a little extra time to catch up and a little extra care. Aw, okay. Let's read the quotes as well. So we have, for the head side, if we don't tell strange stories, when something strange happens, we won't believe it, from The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. And then we have, I don't think you have to be alone to be lonely, from Fleabag, the TV show. And then we have, you have only one life, make the most of it, by from Holes by Louis Sachar. So that's a book, Holes. You also may have seen the movie. And yeah, okay, so this, I feel like, is your head kind of pleading its case, right? Like, this is where your head's really at right now. Like, you might have been in dark places with the songs that we had underneath, and your head might have also tried to pull ahead on certain things where your heart was like, no, like, give me time. And so I feel like the songs were really acknowledging that, and these quotes are now saying, like, I want to step out into the unknown, and maybe you've been spending a lot of time, or it would be helpful to spend a lot of time taking in stories of people who have led lives that are similar to the ones that you want to lead, who have done things that are similar to the things that you want to do successfully, and in a way that will help you keep honing your perspective on what's possible for you. Because with this 10 of Pentacles, I really feel like this is like stepping out into a more expansive perspective on like what's possible for you, what you can actually create with your life and in your life. And also reminding you that you don't have to be alone to be lonely. It's all a matter of perspective, right? So when you get into the headspace or the feeling of loneliness, that's something that you can be curious about. You can look into within yourself. It's not a state that's just inherent to you, though. It's not something that you are a victim to or that you have to stay in. It's a feeling. It's a feeling, right? And so you can be alone and feel deeply connected to yourself and everything around you, but you can also be surrounded by people and feel deeply disconnected. And it could be that maybe you've been feeling disconnected from people in your life recently, or you have felt like you haven't been seeing yourself reflected in the people around you. Maybe that's something that you want to look into, focus on, meditate on, and really notice like what might be bringing up these feelings of isolation, if you relate to that. But it's also, I think it's also reminding your heart, or maybe even acknowledging to your heart, like, if you've been wanting to dive into a relationship, or maybe you're someone who's been diving into new relationships or into new situations without, like, asking your heart or consulting it, or, like, that's been the part of you that's been holding you back from connecting more deeply with people. It might be your mind reminding you as well that, like, okay, I understand that, just getting into a relationship to not be lonely isn't the answer. And waving that white flag, essentially, like I kind of got the feeling of earlier, of like, okay, I surrender, I'll wait, I won't force you to do anything you don't want to do, because maybe you had some egoic patterns that told you, I need to be in a relationship right now, or I need to seek this specific goal out, I need to seek this specific thing out to help me feel less lonely, help me feel more connected, or help me feel better about myself or my life, right? Those insecurities and things like that can come up. And maybe that was causing you to try to pull ahead, where the rest of you was like, no, we're not ready. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, right, we can focus on ourselves first. We can work through this maybe insecurity or thing that's coming up. We don't want to take action from a place of loneliness or from a place of feeling inadequate and needing something outside of ourselves to validate ourselves or help us feel better. We can take our time, right? It doesn't mean don't do the thing. It doesn't mean don't go for it. It doesn't mean don't seek a new relationship or anything like that. But it means you don't need to rush yourself into it, pull yourself into something that you're not ready for in the moment, right? You can take it step by step. You can take it day by day, and you can really focus on where your intentions are coming from moment to moment. And I think your head is ready to do that and work with your heart. And now we also have, you only have one life, make the most of it. So it's like, yeah, you do, but you are in a place where you want to make the most of things. You want to step out of your comfort zone. And so even if you have to slow things down or take it at a slower pace, it's something that that you're being encouraged to do, and that I feel like is the right track for you. And now let's get the messages from your heart. So we actually have 4 cards. The first one that came out is, isn't it amazing how every day can be an adventure, from Anne with an E. And that's so nice, because I do feel like your heart is opening up to the adventure of life, right? Like, I think that's the process that is happening here. And I think that's where your head and your heart are both in the same place. Like, you both want that for each other. It's just, they might have had different ways of going about that, right? Like, they were trying to protect you in different ways. We also have this card with, different isn't bad, it's just not the same. Also from Anne with an E. Yeah, so like, okay, this might require you to make some changes in your life, maybe changes in your way of thinking as well. And this is the heart's acknowledgement that, different can feel like the unknown, and the unknown can feel scary, but it's not bad, it's just not the same. And it also could apply to maybe acknowledging differences amongst, like I said, the angel or strength card could represent ego, and maybe like an overturning of the ego, and maybe there were some egoic beliefs that were keeping you protected around like differing opinions, maybe keeping you actually isolated from other people because of feeling like every time someone has a different opinion from you, or if someone is too different from you, that means that there's something wrong with you, like a very black and white kind of thinking. And I feel like you might be moving out of that, and your heart is telling you, it's reminding you, different isn't bad, it's just not the same as you. So maybe there's an aspect of your life where actually seeking out a different opinion, or seeking out people who are different from you, or different from the usual type that you hang around with, or like a different situation in your life, because this could be about anything, something that's different from your norm, that's not a bad thing, and it might actually be what you need. It might it might help you expand in the way that you want to expand. So that's something that your heart is telling you. Your heart wants you to enjoy every day like an adventure. It doesn't want everything to have to be like forced or pushed or something that has to be like strategized by your mind. It wants the time and space to explore. And it also wants something different. It wants something new and unique. And I think again, like we're seeing how both sides are kind of on the same page now. And maybe, again, like had been going about these things differently for a long time, and so weren't fully communicating until recently. Then we also have this card, which says, nothing in life is easy, but that's no reason to give up. You'll be surprised what you can accomplish if you set your mind to it. Oh, this is also from Holes. Look at that. See? They want the same things. I mean, some of you might be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, I've been feeling connected and everything. But I think for a lot of you, this might be like a new revelation or like a new feeling of connection between your head and your heart that you're just really tapping into now. Yeah, but your heart is like, don't give up. And your heart and your mind can work together, right? Because your heart can kind of direct you. It's like your compass. It tells you what direction you want to go in. And like your heart now is saying like, maybe going in a different direction or going towards something that feels more adventurous or out of the norm for us is what we really want to do. And then your mind can work with your heart as a tool to support and strategize your moves, you know, and maybe even be more of an in the moment sort of decision, like aid to your decision making. Because I feel like your decision making for a lot of people happens more in your body. Almost like you feel, okay, like that feels interesting. That feels like it's right for me. And now mentally, like you can use that, tap into that, even if we're talking about your head, like in terms of your chakras, tapping into your intuitive, third eye chakra. That's like your head. Like the more that you open your mind, the more you're open to intuitions and intuitive hits that are outside your norm that might actually come from a place that's more aligned with you, because it's not based on your limiting beliefs. It's based on like your in the moment inspirations that aren't limited by like a version of you that maybe you've already surpassed, right? And since you are, it seems like your heart and your mind are both asking you to step into something new. Having an open mind, especially around differences, around things that aren't the same as what you're used to, is really going to help you here. And your heart really wants you to open up to it and also like use your mind to help you through this process as a tool, not as a limiting factor, right? Like not as something that will get in the way or say, no, we can't do that. Like anything that's like saying, no, you can't do that. No, that's not right. No, that's like, that's too big for us. Or that's not true. What's true is that you might have to, strategize about certain things or take certain things into account. Your mind can help you do that, but your mind isn't here to tell you that your dreams suck and that you suck, right? That's your limiting belief speaking. That's not the truth. The truth will never say, oh no, you can't do that. The truth might say, oh, your heart's not in that, right? And that's when, you maybe want to pivot. But your mind is not going to be like, oh, you can't do that because you suck, like, right? Like the truth isn't going to say that, right? Your mind might say that. The truth isn't going to say that. So your mind is here to help support the dreams of your heart, not quench them or quell them. And we also have this quote, which says, you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. There's still lots of good in the world. And this is from The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And yeah, and I feel like that came out with the heart. I'll put it in the middle here, though. And I feel like that is really the crux of this, is like your heart doesn't want you to rush or push things. It wants you to know that you have plenty of time to keep growing. You're still growing. You're growing into the person that you want to be, and you have time to do that. You don't have to push. You don't have to rush. Any insecurities are lying to you, telling you that you need to get somewhere outside of yourself to be worthy. You already are inherently. And yet at the same time, it's also, wanting to open up and to break free from any cynicism that you might have, to help you look around yourself more and see the good in things more. And I feel like, you've been working on that, maybe even consciously in terms of your perspective, but your heart is supporting you in that. It wants that too. It might seem like it's holding you back, but it's holding you back from a space of love. And the more that you can listen to that and help yourself feel safer as you keep moving forward instead of charging ahead and leaving your heart behind, like letting it lead a little bit more, and also helping it feel comfortable so that it's more comfortable to step out and do things. Like you might actually be able to move into what you want to move into faster by slowing down a bit and really getting connected and listening to what's really going on in there, right? Because just because your heart is like saying no to something one day, it doesn't mean that it's a forever no. It might just mean that you have some work to do to help it feel safe and comfortable and to move forward in a way that is truly aligned with it and not coming from a space of like a mental block or feeling unworthy or like just wanting to get something done or over with. Like it wants to be present with you in every step of the way. And you need to, slow down maybe and listen to that. And also, just from the bottom of the deck, I wanted to comment that we had this scientist card. And like this Henry, same guy from this card, Henry and Charlotte are such a sweet couple. And Henry is a scientist. He's an inventor. He's sometimes so in his head that he's a little disconnected as well. Like he's the kind of character who he's very brainy, but like a little aloof to the extent that like he's just not always like connected with what's going on around him. His head's kind of always somewhere else. And so for those of you for whom this has been the case, where you feel like your head has always been somewhere else, you might be a very heady person at times. It's acknowledging that, but I think also the inventor scientist mentality is a helpful one to take on when you're in this space of exploring, your head and your heart, your inner world, the things that you truly want, because it's also like this, it's ingenuity. It's an inventor, a scientist isn't afraid to go into the unknown, especially if they're, a good one, because that's where they're creating new things, right? They're creating the future. They're creating things that haven't been seen before. And so having a scientific or a scientist, inventor, whatever type of mindset, you get what I'm saying. Tapping into your ingenuity, that's going to help you create something new for yourself. And I feel like that's what a lot of you are wanting to do. And so you can, go in with a more experimental, like lighthearted, because like Henry really is lighthearted about his inventions. He's not discouraged by like one of them failing. He's happy to tinker around until something works, and that might be what you're being called upon to do, like to be a little curious, to tinker with things, to slow down and see what's really going on within you before you make any moves. And not in a way where you are like getting in your own way, but rather in a way where you're like, no, I'm still moving forward, but I'm taking the time to really figure out the best way. And then I'm going to read the moon card that we got all the way in the beginning that I haven't read yet, hiding under these cards over here. So this one was the one I pulled like when I was doing your group, so let's see what it says. Aha! So it's got the little scales, and it says, a win-win outcome is forecast, full moon in Libra. And that's what the Six of Wands, Six of Steels, yeah. Okay, I thought I remembered this was the one that came out. That is so funny. Okay. So yeah, a win-win outcome is forecast. I think that's what the Six of Wands is saying. Like there's the realization between your head and your heart that's happened recently that you can both have what you want, that you actually both want the same thing. And this coming together of your head and your heart and reuniting of them is bringing that to you. And let's just read the little booklet from the Moonology Oracle guidebook to see more about the full moon, in Libra, and what that has to say. Okay, so full moon in Libra, the sign of partnership. Yeah, partnership between your head and your heart. That's what we're talking about. And it could be in your physical reality as well, because uniting those two aspects of yourself might help you in that area if that's something that you're looking for. The full moon in Libra, the sign of partnership, of falling in love, and of closely relating to someone else. Since full moons are about climaxes and conclusions, this card suggests you're either about to start a new relationship or that an important existing relationship is changing somehow, perhaps coming to an end or moving to a new level of commitment. It's important to remember that people come to us for a reason and sometimes just for a season. If a relationship is ending now, and you'll know if that's the case, like very specifically for you, like you'll know that. If it's not, just leave that behind. But if a relationship is ending now, it's doing so at the right time, so try not to fight it. This card can also refer to a professional relationship. There's a sense that you need to balance your ego with someone else's needs. A win-win outcome is possible with give and take. Doing so might be the answer to your question. Yeah, like putting aside your ego for someone else's needs. In this case, it's like your mind, your mental space. Wow, the sun just like is casting some weird shadows now. But oh well, we're almost done. The ego space, like your mind needing to cede some power to your heart, to take time to tend to it, to be there for it, and to work with it as opposed to rushing ahead. Because like I said, I think your headspace, you're working on your mental space, maybe working on your positivity, working on your, the way, a new way of thinking, and your heart is still like, okay, like, I want to be with you, but like, I'm not there yet. Can we work together on this? Let's work together. So yeah, this is like putting that aside so that you can put your heart's needs first for the moment, and maybe not first, but just like listen to it, and move forward from a more centered place. Attune to the moon, let go of that which is falling away. And additional meanings for this card could be see the other person through the eyes of love. It will change your perspective. Yeah, tapping into your heart will help that. And also like seeing your heart through the eyes of love, seeing your mind through the eyes of love, the different parts of you that exist, It's time for you to make a firm decision. Time for you to focus on yourself for a while. You might have to do that. Look after yourself, but avoid vanity. And now is a great time for a makeover. Sure. So, okay. That all makes sense and definitely goes with this message. And I feel like for a lot of you, this is something that's been happening naturally as well, so you don't have to force it. But if you want to be more conscious of this, moving forward, if this is something that maybe you weren't as connected with, or you didn't realize was going on, but it resonates for you, being more conscious of this and really sitting with your heart space and becoming more attuned to it might help you, progress this situation a bit faster and help make that connection. I think it's already really being forged there, but help make that connection stronger between your mind and your heart. But yeah, it seems like you're really moving into a more positive space for everyone here. So that's nice. Love it. All right. That was a really cool reading. So I hope that resonated for you. I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you're interested, please like, comment, or subscribe. And I'd love to know how, all this resonates and how this is all manifesting for you. And if you're interested in any of our personal tarot services, I do offer personal written emailed readings in our shop on our website. And I also offer one-on-one or recorded tarot readings under our booking services. So feel free to check those out on our website. I'll link that in the description below, sunflowerphilosophy.com. And we also do hypnosis and human design as well. So if you want to do some further work with your mind, your energy, body, your heart, whatever you want to do, you might want to look into that as well. So feel free to check that out on our site. And I hope you have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye! Hi, Group 2. If you selected this rose quartz, then you are in the right place, and this is your reading, which will be a conversation between your head and your heart. So, as I told Group 1, you may want to focus on a specific problem, question, situation, anything that you might be having some indecision with, in order to get maybe some insights into that, if there is anything that you are maybe struggling with at the moment, because this could help provide you with some insights. But you can also just go into this with an open mind and just let whatever comes through come through without any specific question in mind. So that's up to you. But I pre-selected a moon card for each group, and we're actually going to look at that later. So I'm going to put that over here, and we're going to just get into the tarot. I'm going to pull those cards now. We're going to get one card each to represent your head and what it wants to say to your heart what it wants to say to your head, and then the energy between those two, or really like what they want you to know about what's going on with each of them and their relationship right now within, your physical and energetic space. So let's get into it. I have to say, I'm immediately like tapping into the energy of this group. It just like hit me really strongly for some reason. Like I was feeling sort of off a little bit earlier, just kind of like heavy, like I had a lot of energy weighing me down, and then all of a sudden I tapped into this energy and like, whoo, it really took me like, ooh, it's hard to describe, but I'm feeling like a little almost like spacey right now. So maybe some of you relate to that energy. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't hate it. I'm kind of enjoying it, but let's get into your head. So Group 2's head, let's get a card to represent Group 2's head. Please pop the card out of the deck. Group 2's head, okay. We got the Six of Blades, aka the Six of Swords. And for Group 2's heart, let's get a card for Group 2's heart now, please. Card for Group 2's heart. Pop it out, please. Card for Group 2's heart. Card for Group 2's heart. Ooh. We're getting a lot of different cards want to explode out. Okay. Group 2's heart, please. Let's get a card. Yes, thank you. Five of Rings, aka the Five of Pentacles. Let's see how we looking. All right. And for the energy between Group 2's head and heart, please, let's pop the card out, please. Energy between Group 2's head and heart. Let's get a card to represent. Ooh, okay. Seven of Blades, Seven of Swords, okay. And Four of Wands on the bottom of the deck. We'll set that off to the side over here. We may or may not get into that, but okay. Well, it's interesting. First things first, right off the bat, I see that we have the Six of Blades to represent the head and Seven of Blades to represent the energy between. So, okay. Let's start with the energy between for you guys. Let's just say I'm definitely feeling that there might be some blockage or miscommunication happening between your head and your heart right now. Especially on this Seven of Blades in particular, we have like swords blocking off this person from getting to like this box. So it's almost like some kind of mental energy is maybe blocking you off from accessing your heart and vice versa. And one thing I want to say, when we talk about like the head and the heart, I'm really talking about like your mental space, your brain, even like physically as well, like and how that relates to the thoughts that we have and things like that. Because, the physical and the non-physical are related to each other, They're both reflections of each other. And the headspace, to me, it's something that you might have more conscious awareness of. A lot of us are encouraged to be in our headspace, especially in modern times. But at the same time, sometimes we don't even always realize what's going on in there because there's a lot more to it than just like our conscious focus at the moment. There's our patterns that we don't always see clearly, and there's also our subconscious and things like that. And then with our heart space, if we're disconnected from our bodies, if we're not really following our passions or not aware of what we truly desire or what truly feels right for us, sometimes that can mean we're disconnected from our heart space. And so that's what I'm really talking about when it comes to head and heart. And I talked about this a bit in the intro, but for some reason I felt the need to get into it a little bit here. Because maybe it seems like a lot of you might be feeling quite disconnected at the moment from your heart space, but at the same time, your head space is moving in a positive direction. I feel like you might currently be feeling or experiencing a lot of mental conflict, and it could be over a specific thing or it could be in general. And I feel like you are aware of this and potentially I feel like you might be aware of some mental conflict that's going on. Obviously, you'll know if that resonates for you right off the bat. You should kind of be like, yeah, I've been conflicted lately, right? But I also feel like you may or may not be aware of the fact that you're actually moving in a very positive direction. Because I do feel like what's happening with the Six of Blades here is that whatever mental conflicts have been coming up for you are coming up to reveal themselves so that you can move beyond them and move you to a better place, like a more satisfied place. I do feel like with the Seven of Blades here, there is, though, a blockage still between your head and your heart. Like, you're not hearing your heart and you're not able to maybe access it. And with the Five of Rings or Five of Pentacles being in your heart space, your heart might feel a little bit overwhelmed and overburdened. In particular, this heart card, this Five of Rings, Five of Pentacles card depicts a character, because these are all characters from a book series, and you don't have to know all the background, although if you do and you get messages from that, take that. But I'll explain a little bit for this card because it feels relevant. And this character in the middle here is like the older brother of these characters. These two are the oldest siblings, but they are half-siblings who are separated from the family for a long time. And what happens is this central character here, he becomes the caretaker of his siblings because his parents are killed. So he is a very loving and caring older brother, but he's also a kid who's like really overwhelmed and overburdened by taking care of everyone, basically. And that's part of his character arc and things that he has to figure out, because he kind of like, he loves his siblings and he wants to do the best for them, but he's also like, I'm just a kid. He has some bitterness about it. He has some, and I don't even want to say bitterness really, but he has some he's got a little bit of an edge to him underneath like a very soft sort of surface. And your heart might be feeling a bit of that edge right now, because it feels like it might have had to take on a lot. Like maybe you've taken on a lot emotionally, right? Because to me, your heart is really like, it represents your like emotional body. It's like the gateway of your physical from your physical to your spiritual, and like your soul to your body, and vice versa. And like your emotions can be communications, right, between your body and the non-physical, right? And so I feel like maybe your emotions have gotten overwhelmed in the past, and maybe you're dealing with some of that overwhelm now, and that's why you might be feeling cut off in this moment with the Seven of Blades. And there could be it feels like this is purposeful, almost. Like, with these hands holding these swords to block off this person here, this person represented on the Seven of Blades is someone who doesn't have the best of intentions and is trying to get information and get certain things, get access to certain things for his own personal gain. And there's like a lot of ego there. And, they're not a character that is completely devoid of the potential for sympathy. They are kind of just a bit immature. And so there could be some ego desires or some things in the mental space that have been blocking you from feeling into your heart space for a long time out of a sense of protection, like keeping yourself safe from maybe the intentions of others that you perceive to be to have ill will against you, but also maybe some of your own desires that you don't feel comfortable with, or that you feel like ashamed of, thoughts and things that are maybe critical or negative, or come from a space that you don't want to align with, like out of jealousy or fear, that kind of thing. And so there could be an element of like your head and your heart kind of staying separate out of fear of hurting the other. And yes, I'm really personifying the head and the heart in this reading, but I think that is a really useful way sometimes to access them, because I mentioned this in the intro probably, but like when I looked within and like sort of started asking my mind questions, I was really surprised at how much personality they each had. But it just feels like there's a little bit of separation happening. And I think it's all going to be okay. We have the Four of Wands on the bottom of the deck, and this is like a happy family card, like everyone's together in this. So I think it's just what's happening at this moment, and it's nothing to be concerned about or worried about, but it's acknowledging what's going on and acknowledging that it might feel a little bit uncomfortable right now is potentially helpful to you. And it does make sense with some of the energy I was feeling myself earlier, which sometimes I feel like when I'm tapping into the energies for each group, I start to take on some of the aspects that are going to be important to talk about. So interesting. Okay. But let's continue this conversation and get deeper into it by pulling some song cards for each side and then also some quote cards. So I'm going to start with the song cards. So let's get 3 song cards. We're going to start with, let's see, which one wants to start? The head or the heart? I do want to say, as I'm shuffling these, I feel like your heart, you have a big heart, you know, you've got a lot of care and compassion for people, and maybe you have had to take on, like, quite literally the role of taking care of people, or you've just felt like that has been a thing for you recently where you've had to, like, take charge. Maybe you are an older sibling, like, I don't know. And so I do feel like, you know, your heart, even if there is some, like, bitterness or resentment, especially in the mental realm, around the amount that's been put on you at times, I do feel like you are very loving. Like, you might be feeling a little bit put out with yourself in the sense of, like, feeling bad for feeling resentful, or feeling bad for feeling overburdened and being bitter about certain things and the way certain things have happened. And I do feel that this is an acknowledgement that, like, just because you have those thoughts and those feelings sometimes, it doesn't mean that you're not a good and loving person. And sometimes we just, you know, we're just tired and we have had a lot on our plate, and we're allowed to feel how we feel about that. And that may be something that you really need to hear right now. Let's start with your heart on that note. So let's get 3 songs for the heart. Okay, we got this one. 2 more songs for the heart. That the heart wants to communicate. 2 more songs, sorry. Please. For group 2's heart. 2 more songs. Okay, we're going to take this one, and then we're going to shuffle for 1 more for the heart. Okay. 1 more song for group 2's heart, please. 1 more song for group 2's heart, please. What do you really want to communicate? Okay. And then for the head, what does group 2's head want to communicate? 3 songs. Okay, wow, that's 4 songs. No. Okay, we're just, you know what? Your head might have a lot to say, but we're gonna see if we can limit it. Songs from group 2's head. What do you want to communicate? Okay, we got still more. That's too many. Let's try it 1 more time, okay? I'm gonna get 3 songs. All right, here's 1. Here's 2. And 1 more. 1 more group 2's head. Yeah, I feel like there is some heaviness with this group. Like, you might just be dealing with a lot right now. 1 more. Jesus. Your head is a lot going on. Okay. And we'll start there, and then we'll get the quote cards, okay? Because this is a lot. All right, so we have Chokehold by Sleep Token on the head side. What I've Overcome and Call You Out. What I've Overcome is by Fireflight, and Call You Out is by Flyleaf. Interesting. On the heart side, we have The Night Does Not Belong to God. Wow, okay, this is interesting. Meant to Live. This one's by Sleep Token. The Night Does Not Belong to God. And then Meant to Live is by Switchfoot, I think. And then Take Me Back to Eden is also by Sleep Token. So we have a lot of Sleep Token here. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 Sleep Token songs here. And then we have Fireflight and Flyleaf. I believe both of those are, like, Christian bands, I believe. But then Sleep Token is kind of very much the opposite of that. They've got, like, more of a pagan cult thing going on. And then we have Switchfoot. I don't know as much about their aesthetics or whatever, but I just think that's interesting, you know? Because those are 2 kind of conflicting energies. And that stood out as significant. So for some of you, there might be a conflict in terms of your spiritual beliefs that is somehow relevant to this this energy that's happening right now between your head and your heart. But let's see. All right. So starting with the heart, the night does not belong to God. We have the night comes down like heaven. Meant to live, we were meant to live for so much more. Have we lost ourselves? Somewhere we live inside. And then take me back to Eden with, and I don't know what's got its teeth in me, but I'm about to bite back in anger. No amount of self-sought fury will bring back the glory of innocence. Okay, so I feel like the heart is definitely feeling like there's a sense of innocence lost here. A sense of, like I said, being overburdened, overworked, taking on too much. And it could also be in like the metaphysical sense of like your chakras might be a little bit blocked up right now and your heart chakra might be working overtime to compensate for that, or like physically in your body. I am not a doctor, so like do not if you are concerned about your physical health at all, please go see a doctor. But I'm not telling you here that there are any concerns. That's not what I'm saying. That's something you would already know about, or like you'd be feeling like, yeah, I should go see someone. I don't do medical readings or anything here. Just want to make that clear. But your energetic heart, that aspect of you might just like overall you might be a bit burnt out. And that could be causing this separation here and this distrust, I think. There's really a distrust. Your head and your heart are not trusting each other right now. And I feel like your heart really wants more than whatever burdens have been placed on it, like whatever limitations. And this could be even like limitations from your own mind. Like your mind might have some limiting beliefs that are really placing restrictions on your heart. And your heart is like, well, I want more than this. I want to live a life that's more aligned with who I truly am. And your head might be like, I'm not sure we can do that. Because we have chokehold over here. But again, I do feel like you're moving into a better headspace, which I believe will be helping with this situation, but this might be where you're at right now. But with chokehold, also by sleep token, we have, when we were made, it was no accident. We were tangled up like branches in a flood. But I feel like the most important part of chokehold is really the title, because I think your mind might have felt like it's been in a chokehold, or it might have felt like it's had a chokehold on your heart or on aspects of your life. Like certain thought patterns, like thought patterns that are limiting, that have been limiting your true desires. You might have felt like you've been in that kind of chokehold. And I do feel like you are overcoming it. We also have, I've got this passion. It's something I can't describe. It's so electric. It's like I've just come alive. I feel this freedom now that my past is erased. I feel the healing. I found the meaning of grace. Yeah, this is definitely a Christian band. So, take those messages as that, if that is something that you are a part of. I'm personally not. I just, vibe with the song in particular. But, yeah, I feel like this passion, that what it speaks to me is about, any kind of passion, right? That you have for life, that you have for things that you want to do, that you have for people in your life, things like that. It's I think your mind is acknowledging here that there have been passions that have been bottled up or shut down or just not acted upon. And in some cases, maybe out of fear, out of limitations in your mind. And in some cases, maybe out of things that felt like restrictions that were more out of your hands. But because this is a very healing card, I do feel like healing is happening, even if it feels a bit rough right now. Because I do feel like for this group, if there's any group, well, I've only done 2. This is the second one I'm doing. But that's feeling a little rough right now, it might be you guys. And if that's not you, you don't have to take this on. Even if you are relating to some of the aspects of this, you can take those messages and move along. But some of you might really be struggling right now with certain things. And this is, I believe, part of a healing process based on these cards that you're going through, that sometimes you start to see and acknowledge certain things that make you uncomfortable about aspects of yourself, or feelings that you have not felt comfortable to express about your experiences. Sometimes those start to come up to the surface, and it's just a matter of acknowledging them, right? And noticing them, and then also noticing that you can start to choose to let them go, to feel things that you were uncomfortable to feel, and have radical self-acceptance for yourself in the moment. so that you can actually like move those along and realize that you're not defined by any thoughts that go through your mind. You're not defined by any emotions that come up. Those are communications. Those are things that you're being presented from your body and from your mind. You're being presented with them as information, but they're not things that define who you are. You get to choose, which ones you emphasize or which ones you follow, which ones you choose to let go. And you can be at peace with the fact that, I just also got the specific message for anyone who like experiences a lot of intrusive thoughts and things like that. I'm not a mental health professional, so I'm not speaking on any like specific mental disorders or diagnoses or anything, but I am saying that a lot of people understand the experience of intrusive thoughts and also understand them in different ways in different contexts. In whatever context you understand the experience of intrusive thoughts, if that is something that you deal with, where you have thoughts that come into your mind that don't feel like you, but they concern you or frighten you or worry you, or thought patterns or beliefs that you feel like say something negative about who you are as a person, that's not true. That's, again, just see it as something that's just coming in, and you can just be like, oh, hi, bye. If it's not something that you want to think about or pursue. It's the act of focusing on it. Obviously, sometimes you can get into a rut and feel like, oh, am I a bad person because this thought came into my mind? It's like, you're not. And the more often you can catch that and acknowledge that and realize that you're fine and that no thoughts that come into your head are you or specifically saying anything about who you are as a person, as a being, the easier it will be to start to just let those things go. Because I know that can be a very dark place to be in. And so for anyone who's like really in that area, if there's in that headspace, if there's anyone who's like there and it feels really serious and really scary, like, obviously seek professional help. And there are people out there who are happy and willing to help with that and deal with that kind of thing all the time. And it's completely normal and fine. Like, it's something that you can totally get help for. But for those of you who just need a little reminder or just need that little click of like, oh yeah, okay, that's not me, I can let that go, that might be helpful for you. Because we also have Call You Out by Flyleaf. And this says, how can you act like you know when all you know is to lie? Another truth to expose. Freedom will catch up and rise. We find this truth. We fight. You lose. Your time's up now. That's enough now. Shut up. Get out. Truth called you out. Yeah, so there's definitely, like, the distrust here between your head and your heart. It might not even be about your head and your heart distrusting each other. It could be about, like, a general air of distrust that you might have with yourself or with others or with certain situations in your life right now. So take it as it resonates. But it could also be, in this particular case, because we have the Six of Swords, and I feel like that's moving to a more positive mental space, even though it could, like moving from hardship to a place where you experience maybe more love and connection, which is actually what's happening with the character on the card. The character on this card, when he's a little boy, he experiences, some real tragedy, and then he has to move from his home in Shanghai to England. And while he didn't have a bad life with his parents and where he lived, it's not that he's moving from a bad life to a better one. It's that, a tragedy happened and he has to leave home behind. He's forced to. But at the same time, we also know, as people who've read the books, that there is a lot of love and a lot of family and a lot of compassion waiting for him in England as well. So he will find a place that's that welcomes him in and is happy for him once again, even with the tragedy that he's leaving behind him. So for some of you, you're really in that process of leaving some difficult things in the past and moving into a smoother future. And some of this, like, call you out energy could be about certain things or people from your past. So there could be things coming up with that where you're just like getting angry. That's okay. But also it could be about calling out your own self in terms of certain patterns and things and ways of seeing the world that are no longer aligning with you as well. And again, that might be where some of the distrust is directed at. It could be distrust at your mind itself, right? And calling out, like, that's not true. Why do I keep thinking that? That's not true, Yeah, it's a bit heavy though. Like, I do feel like this group has some heaviness around it, and that's okay. You know, I think that's sometimes where we are. With the Four of Wands on the bottom of the deck, though, that feels like a celebration, especially from, you know, any of your spirit guides or spirit team, if you communicate with those, or if you are open to that concept. They might be celebrating the transition that you're going through now because they know where it's leading you, and they know that it's a much smoother, safer journey from here on out for you. So this blockage really feels very temporary, and it might take some time, but you are really moving in a positive direction. Like I said, you've got a really big heart, and I do feel that, you know, after the Five of Pentacles is the Six of Pentacles, things start to balance out. And I feel that things will start to balance out for you very soon. But let's get a few quotes as well. So let's get quotes starting for your head. So 3 quotes from your head. Okay, no. 3 quotes for your head, please. From your head space. Okay, there's 1. Two more, please. 2 more. We'll switch piles if we need to. I'll shuffle it up one more time. 2 more quotes, please. Okay, there's 1. And then I'm going to get the other pile and shuffle that one. Group 2's head quote, please. And a quote. Okay, we got 1 more. All right, so then let's quickly get for your heart. I hope it's quick. Message from Group 2's heart, please. Okay, we got 1. And then I feel like doing the other 2 from this pile because I have so many quotes, guys, so many. So I just have to really be intuitive about which ones I'm picking. Usually works out perfectly. So Group 2's heart, 2 more quote cards, please. Okay, well, those fell out pretty quick, so we will go with those. Okay. Interesting. All right, so I'll put these out here so you can see what imagery is on them, and then we'll go through the quotes one by one. So, all right, so from your head, first quote we have is represented by this image. And on the back it says, he thinks about how, whatever being alive is, with all its pasts and presents and futures, it is most itself in the moments when you surface from a depth of numbness or forgetfulness that you didn't even know you were at and break the surface. And this is from Winter by Ali Smith. Yeah, so you might have felt like for a long time you've been in a winter phase, or you might feel like you're in a winter phase right now. But also some of this, like, yeah, okay. So some of you might be emerging from a state of apathy and maybe feeling feelings more strongly than you have in a while, and that might be actually a bit overwhelming for you, but also a really good thing. Because, like I said, overall this feels like it's a really good thing. It just feels like it might not feel like it in the moment. And so some of you are breaking the surface. I think this is also a message that you will break the surface soon and have a breakthrough. And like I said, like these swords are holding you off for a reason, but they're not going to be holding you off forever. And by you, I mean like your head and your heart from connecting with each other, but also in terms of like maybe holding you back from doing what you want to do or from certain things that you want. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like going across, I didn't do this in group 1, but I feel like going across for this one. So I'm going to go to your heart now. The first quote from your heart, first of all, is represented by this. And it says, I think I've been waiting my whole life for the moment someone would see something in me that wasn't ordinary. And this is from Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. So your heart is really longing to be seen. It's longing to be listened to. It's longing to break out of the ordinary, whatever the ordinary is for you. And I do feel like a lot of the ordinary has been stale, and maybe also for you, something that's been falling away, like you've been maybe stepping into the things that aren't ordinary for you could be, it's very subjective, right? because think about what feels normal and ordinary and usual in your life. And if any of those things feel stale and like just not who you are anymore, then those things, are meant to fall away, and you are meant to step out of your version of ordinary into something that feels a little bit less ordinary, right? And whatever feels extraordinary to you now might come to feel ordinary to you at some point in the future, but I do feel like you're at a transition point where you are stepping out of the ordinary, and your heart is really, 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 really excited to do that. Then we also have this quote here, which says, "Today, Blue Thought, is the day I stop listening to the future and start living it instead." Yeah, so that totally tracks with the Six of Blades. Moving into a better future. I do feel like that's where you're at right now. You're really wanting to move into a better future. You're ready to move out of the ordinary. And that's where I feel like your head and your heart, they might be connecting right now. Like they feel like they're very much on the same page. I feel like that might be a pattern we see where sometimes you don't even realize that your head and your heart are on the same page. There just might be patterns and things working against the desires that you want to manifest or create or act on in your life that are blocking both of them from what they want, or even blocking you from realizing that you're connected to your heart. But yeah, I feel like they both want the same thing. And then we have this card on the heart side, and it says, "It is strange to be here. The mystery never leaves you alone. Behind your image, below your words, above your thoughts, the silence of another world awaits." And this is from Anamkara by John O'Donohue. I forget what the rest of the title is, but that's a really good book about like the old Irish or Celtic like idea of a soul friend. Okay, well, here's the thing. I feel like your heart really wants to be felt and heard and listened to by you. And this is really making me feel like clearing the noise out of your head, clearing all that gunk, is going to help you listen to your heart. Like, I just thought of the song "Listen to Your Heart" by, was it DHX or something like that? Or like Roxette? I don't even know. "Listen to Your Heart," that song. But there's a very specific message there for some people that like some kind of soul friend or soulmate is like coming into your life, or your heart is wanting to meet them or find them or connect with them on a deeper level. So take that as it resonates. But also, the idea that like silence is very important for you in order to hear your heart. So for this group in particular, like detoxing from things like social media, or like if you're like constantly listening to things or listening to podcasts all the time, you might be feeling overwhelmed. That might be feeding your thought spirals. And in order to listen to your heart, you really need to take some time away from those kinds of things right now and really sit with it. And that is how you're going to hear it. That's how you're going to hear the mystery. That's how you're going to connect with your soul, all that kind of thing. Like, it might not be easy. And here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. A lot of people I've spoken to, and I've also felt this way in my life as well, are like, "Oh, meditation is too hard. It's so boring, blah, 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 blah." Okay, I get it. Sitting in silence with yourself sometimes is difficult. Sometimes feels difficult because what's happening in our bodies feels too chaotic or noisy or too foreign or confusing or unusual, and we feel scared about that, and like we want to avoid that. And there are certain times in our lives when like things happen, we're not necessarily equipped to feel all the feelings in one moment. So our body, our mind protect us, and they shut certain things down so that we can just get through the day and not have to focus on our feelings or be overwhelmed by them. Totally fine, right? But there comes a certain point when it behooves us to sit with certain things, especially when they're coming up and we can't ignore them anymore. And also because sometimes for some people it's not even like that dramatic of a thing. Like sometimes it's just like the willpower to sit and allow and be able to sit with discomfort for a certain amount of time until it becomes comfortable, right? Like sometimes it's just a matter of just doing the damn thing, okay? And I'm not someone who's in favor of like forcing yourself day after day to do something that you truly hate, but I am of the mind that if you set the intention to do something with the idea that it will inevitably like be healthy for you, lead you to something greater, lead you to something that's more connected with yourself, that you should do that and that you can do that you're capable of that. And it doesn't have to be a huge grand gesture. It can be one small step at a time. So for those of you who you're kind of like, yeah, you know, if I could meditate, it would be great. Maybe, or who this is resonating for, and you're like, I really do want to connect more deeply with myself, and I have been busy and frazzled, and I have been kind of avoiding myself lately, or I've just been overwhelmed and had a lot of people talking in my ear, or just even being busy, like doing things. You don't even have to like start meditating for like an hour every day or anything. I don't do that. But like having like a minute, you sit down and you sit with yourself in silence for a minute, right? Like starting there, you know, just doing that with the intention of like, that is your moment to connect with your heart. Doing the breathing centering exercise that we do at the beginning of these readings, to me, that's just a few moments to have that connection, even if it's not very long. Like that is enough. That's a good place to start, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. And if you are someone who's like overwhelmed in such a way where you feel like you need professional help, you need, you know, someone to work with you, like by all means, if you can manage that, like please, you know, that is, we're all here to help each other, to like work with each other, guide each other. So there are people out there who are here for you, you know, to help you with that. And you can in turn help others. It's like, we're all here for each other. So that is something that, you know, if you feel open to, you might want to do, if that is, if that is the place that you feel like you're in right now, where you really need a helping hand. But, you know, for anyone who's just like, yeah, you know, I've just been feeling a little overburdened, like you said, like, and it's not as, you know, distressing, but it's something that's still, you know, something that you're working through. Just, you might need to sit in silence more often and just make it a point and just like set a timer for like a minute and like only do that. Like you don't need to hold yourself to more or beat yourself up for not doing more. Like that's perfect. Just like you'll be surprised what one little change, like one little shift can do for you. And so that is something that your heart might appreciate. And then on the head side again, we have this card with: death seems simply to be a return to that unknown inwardness out of which we were born. The truly inward source of one's life was never born. Outwardly, I am one apple among many. Inwardly, I am the tree. Yeah, and so I feel like your mental space now is quieting down. And maybe you've already been doing these kinds of things where you're quieting down and really getting aware of your mental space. And you've already been practicing that, which is great. But it's like, I feel like that's what you're moving towards, is this awareness and deeper connectedness with like the more inward, ethereal, like soul nature of yourself. And we say inward, but like at the same time, the idea is like we're like a, you know, a fragment of creation that is experiencing itself. So we are creation. We're the apple and the tree, right? And actually like what we are is bigger than what we see and around us and like the identity that we have. And so like the idea is like also the body is like within the soul. So like inwardly is where we connect with those things, but those things are actually like all around us. They're like the bigger aspect of us, right? I feel like you are on your way to really breaking free from some smaller mindsets and limiting beliefs about who you are and emerging into a deeper connection with all of reality, where you feel like the big, powerful being that you truly are. And then from on your heart side, we have: fear is an artificial condition. And the quote says, "Fear was an artificial condition. It's imposed from the outside. So it's possible to fight it. You should do the things you're afraid of." And this is from Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, which is in the Murderbot Diary series, which is really cute. And if you are someone who likes science fiction or likes kind of like cute little character studies, but also like maybe struggles with things like trauma and social anxiety and stuff like that. Like Murderbot Diaries might be really good. Might be a good thing to read. I like it a lot, and it might. I have a feeling for some people in this group it might connect with you. So, if you like that, if you're looking for a book suggestion, take that. But also, yeah, fear is an artificial condition imposed from the outside. So your heart, I do feel like, is really wanting you to understand and acknowledge that, yeah, like we were saying before, like any like fearful thoughts or thoughts and patterns that you fear within yourself are not coming from you. They are not you, and you don't need to identify with them. Your heart is a very safe and loving space, and it might not always feel that way to access it, but that is something that, again, is like sometimes we're instilled with fear from the outside that tells us that our heart misleads us, that our emotions are bad, that our emotions are wrong, and that leads us to fear our hearts rather than embrace them. And so I feel like for you, you're going through that process right now of learning to embrace a part of you that maybe you haven't fully embraced before, whether that's however that's showing up in your life. That could be so many different things for you. But yeah, you've got a lot of courage, and I do feel like you are being called upon to embrace that courage now, because you might have a lot going on at the moment, and you might need that to really push through. And now let's look at your moon card, because that's going to be where we'll get some additional advice or confirmations or, context. So this I pulled actually at the very beginning, like I said, so I don't know what it says yet, but I think I looked at, it doesn't matter. All right. Okay, well, the moon card you got is expect powerful change, new moon eclipse. Yeah, so that's really cool. I like that. That's a really pretty card too. Expect powerful change. So like I was saying, like this is leading, you are headed in a positive direction, and there is powerful change coming for you. And change could be inward and it could be outward, but it'll vary for all of you who are watching. But yeah, whatever's happening here is leading you to powerful change. And I do feel like a powerful reconnection with yourself. So, and if you do have an external like situation that you've been asking about as well, there's definitely going to be a powerful change in that. And it feels like for the better. However that manifests for you, it's for the better. So let's read this. It says, expect powerful change, new moon eclipse. If you want affirmation that you can achieve your dreams and get the desired outcome in the situation you're asking about, then this is it. Nice. This is a card of beginnings, and there are powerful energies at work. And that could be where some of the overwhelm might be coming from, is that there's powerful energies at work and it might just feel really intense. But be prepared. It could be quite a ride, and events now could even be jarring and uncomfortable. Yeah, so a lot of you, like I said, you might be dealing with some uncomfortable things right now. However, any new directions you take will almost always lead somewhere better, like that Six of Blades, lead somewhere better than where you were at the moment. Whatever is happening now is happening for a reason you'll appreciate later on. Yes, and I do feel like with the Five of Rings that you got in this deck, like I said, like there could be an element of feeling overburdened, of having to deal with some things that you maybe have some conflicting, complicated feelings about. But at the same time, like there's a lot of love, there's a lot of like family or just like support around you, like the possibility of that. And it's just a matter of asking for it. It's just a matter of being open to it. And I think that's important. But there's also, like I said, like so much love there in that Five of Rings, I feel. A new portal is opening up, and all you have to do is have the courage to forget about the past and move through it. Yes, you are definitely in a transition from forgetting or moving on from certain past things into the future. You're being put back on the right path. You are. There is nothing to fear. Attuned to the moon, we have never mind the past. Life evolves every single day. You are evolving right now. And additional meanings for this card are yes, 1,000 times yes. So if you did ask anything specific, just keep that in mind. And also, you're being shunted towards your life purpose. Whatever is happening right now is happening for your highest good. And this is an important turning point in your life. I do really feel like it is an important turning point for you right now. So that can be really exciting. And I do hope that if things are really intense, or if you do feel like you're struggling right now, you are able to reach out to lean on others for support, and that you are open to the idea that you even deserve and are worthy of support, because like everyone is, okay? You just might need to be reminded of that. But I do feel like overall this is moving you towards a better place, and silence is really important for you right now. Really quieting down your mind and allowing yourself to move into greener pastures mentally, physically, emotionally. That's happening for you, you know? It's just a matter of allowing it. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, living in the future. Living in the future, allowing for the mystery of life to unfold for you, not feeling like you need to know everything or control everything. I feel like that was something that's important for some of you as well. Just the last few things that are coming up. And yeah, I just feel like this is really moving in a positive direction for you. So I hope that resonates. I hope that was a helpful message for you. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you feel called to do so. I would love to hear how this resonates for you. And if you are interested in personal tarot readings, we do offer them on our website. I do written or emailed tarot readings that are offered in our shop at the moment. And then we also have one-on-one tarot readings or a recorded tarot reading offered in our services page. So you can check both of those out, either of those out, see if you're interested. I'll have the links in the description below, sunflowerphilosophy.com. And and if you're interested in hypnosis or human design services, we also have those listed on our website as well. And obviously, if it's like way further out from when this video was posted, the offerings could have changed, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye! Hello Group 3, if you selected the clear quartz crystal, then you're in the right place, and this is your reading, which will be all about a conversation between your head and your heart. So, as I've told the other groups, if you are currently like dealing with anything where you're confused about a specific topic or issue, or you have a decision that you're trying to make, you might want to focus on that. And see if you can get answers related to that through this reading. But also, if you don't have any situation that you want to ask about, or you just want to be open-minded to whatever comes through, feel free to do that as well. It's up to you. But yeah, I pre-pulled a moon card that we're going to put off to the side and we'll look at later. We're just going to start by pulling some cards. One card to represent your head and where it's at and what it wants your heart to know, one to represent your heart, and then one to represent the energy between those two, so that you can get a feel for where your head is at versus where your heart is at, and see what is the best path best path for you to connect the two, or to bring more harmony, right? Bring more harmony between the two of them. So let's get into it. So, Group 3's head. What card do you want to represent you? What represents where you're at and what you want to communicate to the heart? Oh, okay. We got the Two of Rings, also known as the Two of Pentacles. The heart. Oh, and I heard the word balancing with that. So Group 3's heart, where are you at? Group 3's heart. Pop it out, please. Thank you. Is the Four of Pentacles. Okay, interesting. Two of Rings, Four of Rings. Same suit, but different numbers. But yeah, balance. More something about balance is really important here. And then the energy between the two. The energy between the two of y'all. What's going on between your head and your heart, Group 3? Okay, I'm going to take this card. There's a few other cards that fell off to the side here, but we're going to not take those. Instead, we'll put them on the bottom, and we have the Seven of Runes, aka the Seven of Cups, on the bottom of the deck. And if that's relevant, we'll reference it, but I'll just put it over here. Okay, so let's just start by talking a little bit about what I was getting with these. So we had 2, 3, and 4, first of all. Now, in the center, the steels, as I pronounce them, are akin to the wands in a traditional tarot deck. So, let's see. I feel like your head and your heart, first of all, with the 3 of wands being in the center, I feel like they are like in the process of reaching out to one another. Like they want to connect. There might be some kind of distance. There might have been some kind of distance between them for a while. Like you might have been like feeling pulled in 2 different directions, but I feel like they are really seeking to connect with one another and really work together. Kind of similar to group 1, but a bit different. And these 2 characters on this card are actually 2 characters that are kind of torn apart unwillingly, like by circumstances outside of their control. So that may be something that has happened between your head and your heart, where like you got really, like they got really separated or divided because of something that happened or some specific decision that you've had to make. Or you could be feeling divided about things right now and really want to reconnect and reach some kind of resolution. But with the 2 of rings for your head, that's definitely a balancing act that's happening between, like, in your head right now. Like, your head is, there's things that are balancing out. And there could be a balancing specifically between, like, your shadow side and your, like, more conscious side, shadow and light. Not necessarily being, like, even though these characters represented by the 2 of rings do fall on the sides of, like, good and evil. Obviously, when we're talking about, like, dark and light and shadow and light in terms of like spiritual growth and your own self-exploration, we're not actually talking about good or evil, but we're talking about, you know, shadow being the parts of you that maybe you're unconscious of or have been suppressed or you're not aware of because maybe you don't accept those parts of you. And then the conscious light side being the parts of you that you do see and you do accept as part of you. And so often when we talk about doing like shadow work, for example, we're talking about becoming more aware of ourselves holistically. And so integrating the parts of ourselves that we have maybe disowned or just not seen in the past. So for a lot of you, you might be going through that process now of like balancing your dark and light out, like really becoming more aware of certain things and integrating them into your way of thinking, into yourself. And so you might be experiencing mentally like a lot of ups and downs where you're just like, sometimes you're feeling really down or you're really processing some things that are maybe more from your shadow side or unexpected or just things that you're not as familiar or comfortable with. And then other times you're feeling really up and really high and really like connected with yourself. Like maybe you're just going through a little bit of mental turbulence, but it doesn't feel extreme. It feels like a natural balancing out process that is ultimately probably for the best. And the fact that we have 2, 3, 4, the 3 of wands in the middle here also could have something to do with your throat chakra, since your throat chakra is in between your head and your heart, pretty much. So there could also be something about communication here that's really important for you. Now, it's not a sword, like there's no swords out here, which would typically be communication, but I feel like communication can come in many different ways, and sometimes through our actions that we take. Those are ways that we communicate with the universe and with others and with ourselves. And so there could be some kind of maybe disconnect between some of your actions and some of the things that you've been wanting to ground into your world, and maybe you're looking at certain differences in your actions and your desires, or your actions and your words, or your actions and your thoughts, and bringing those into balance as well. And with the 4 of Pentacles with your heart space, I feel like your heart is also working to balance out. And with the 4 of Pentacles, it can feel a bit restrictive, was the word that I just got, because the 4 of Pentacles can be about holding on maybe a little too tightly, maybe being a little protective, but it's not inherently negative. It more comes from like necessity, or from a perspective where you're maybe feeling like you're in a situation where you have to be protective. I'm not getting any like major I don't even want to put it like this, but like any major negative vibes from this, because 4 is also a very stable energy. So I feel like there is an undercurrent of stability within your heart. And I actually feel like maybe what's going on here is that with the balancing that's happening in your mental realm, your heart is kind of like holding down the fort. Like it's sort of holding the line for your mind to like catch up with it almost, which is what just came to my mind. So there might be like your heart in this case might already be there. I don't know what there is, but there's something that your heart is already set on, your heart is already aware of, your heart is already like moving towards, that your mind is like working to catch up to at this time. So if you do have some like mental ups and downs that have been sort of you've been going through, or some kind of balancing that's been happening, it might be because you've accessed or tapped into an aspect of like your heart, your soul, your like emotional body, that you've worked to stabilize your emotional body, and your mind is just now working to catch up with that. It's like almost the inverse of some of the things I've seen in other groups. And it's almost the inverse of like some of the things I've seen with other groups, where it was more like your mind is, especially group 1, not group 2 was a bit different, but group 1, it was like your mind you've been really working on your mental space, and your emotional space needs some care now. And this is almost like they're both almost on the same page, but your emotional space is like a little bit ahead of your mental space in terms of like healing or evolution, however you want to think about it. It's just very interesting. There's definitely, like I said, some kind of, like small distance between the two, but I feel like they're coming into balance now. Which is, it's generally pretty stable, solid sort of energy that's happening here. So even if there are some imbalances, I would guess that they're not very extreme or not very big. Like it's not like a major upheaval that's causing any kind of imbalance. It's really like an inner core of stability that you've been building that is causing like a rebalancing to happen for you right now. But we do have the 7 of Runes or 7 of Cups on the bottom of the deck, which often it can mean like overwhelm, or like being mesmerized by like lots of different options, maybe being not sure which path to take. That could resonate for some of you, and maybe that's just because this rebalancing is happening right now, so it's just like you're not going to really know where to like, and you could actually be physically weighing certain options, like mentally, like this balancing act could actually manifest as like you balancing, weighing your options, like in your actual like reality, you know. Sometimes I think of the mental realm as something that where things are happening in there that aren't always being reflected directly outside of ourselves. Like it's more of like an internal force that's moving through us, maybe more energetic energy. And this is more like maybe you are actually at this time looking at something outside of yourself, like weighing options around it and needing to make some kind of decision. And so that could be where some of the potential for overwhelm, or just like this idea of like options, having options, is coming from. And so, for some of you, it might just be as grounded as like your mental energy is really focused on like weighing your options right now. And your heart is like, your emotional body is like keeping things stable right now. You know, it's like, I think let's move on into the songs right now to get more context. This feels almost like a bit more of a simpler, like less complex, I don't know if that's the best way to say it, energy than some of the other groups, but at the same time, a bit harder to vocalize. So, let's see. I'm going to get 3 songs for each side, and then also get 3 quotes for each side, so we can kind of have a little conversation. And then we'll look at your moon card as well for additional advice or just context. So let's see. Let's start with the mind. For the head, group 3's head, what messages do you have for the heart / group 3? Okay. This one's been popping out, but we'll take it. Okay, woo. I only wanted 2 more, but I got 3. We'll take them. We have Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. The Night Does Not Belong to God, also by Sleep Token. No Light, No Light by Florence and the Machine. And The Garden by, can you still see that? Yeah. By the Crane Wives. Okay. And Group 3's Heart. What have you got to say? What do you want to say? 3 songs, please. 3 songs. Okay, we've got 2. Nope, we got 3. All right, we'll take them. Okay, those 3 all fell out together. So we've got Closure, You Like by Lil Nas X, Hurricane Drunk by Florence and the Machine, and Chances by 5 for Fighting. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's start over here with the mental side. So we have Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token, which says, and I don't know what's got its teeth in me, but I'm about to bite back in anger. No amount of self-sought fury will bring back the glory of innocence, which is kind of dramatic and a little bit more extreme than the feelings I was getting from the Two of Rings as your mental energy. But for you, you might be experiencing whatever decision you're making or whatever rebalancing is happening in your mental realm as somewhat more dramatic than what I'm actually picking up. So take that for sure, especially if you resonate with those lyrics. I mean, there could also be additional messages for you in the songs if you want to listen to them on your own as well. So keep that in mind. But we also have The Night Does Not Belong to God. And this says the night comes down like heaven, which actually popped out, I think, in the last group. And I didn't spend a lot of time directly addressing this song, which is interesting because I didn't think of that until right now. But in the last group, I didn't talk too much about this song in particular. I kind of like took messages holistically from like everything together. But yeah, I think a lot of you, these 2 songs really feel like they go together, and a lot of you are really, like, there's shadow work. You're balancing your shadow aspects right now. And so, yeah, for some of you, you might be fully consciously aware that you're doing this and you're working actively at it, and, like, that can, in and of itself, be a turbulent process, but also, if you're doing it consciously, you can confirm, like, yes, this is what I'm working on right now. For others of you, this might be something that's just kind of happening, like, and it might be happening through some of the choices that you find yourself faced with. And maybe even, I say choices, it doesn't have to be even like making a decision between one thing or another. It could be a general sense of like confusion or feeling like you have to balance a lot of things in your life. And so that could be leading you to have to make choices around like what you want to keep in your life and what you don't want to keep in your life. And it also could be leading you to have to make choices about what your priorities are. So, and that could be bringing up things for you around your shadow aspects that are just now becoming part of your awareness. Because, yeah, there's also, like, Take Me Back to Eden is generally about a loss of innocence, and it doesn't have to be a loss of innocence in a negative way. It can just be, like, a realization, right? You could just be realizing a lot of things right now. And for some of you, realizing a lot of new things about yourself, like, oh, okay, like this process can be a bit confusing if you're starting to unpack some aspects of yourself that you haven't unpacked before, or look deeper into your subconscious, or things are being made more obvious to you about like aspects of yourself that you haven't seen before. It can be a confusing time because, and that's maybe where the 7 of Cups is coming in. It can be a confusing time because you're becoming, like things like your likes and dislikes, what you want to do with your life, or even just on a day-to-day level, like what you want to do each like moment to moment and where you really want to put your focus, like things like that could be changing. Like this could be causing changes in your like physical realm and in your expression of how you do things. And it's kind of like one of those things of not necessarily knowing who you are, right? And needing to almost rediscover that because certain things just might not be appealing to you anymore that were always your favorite thing, to do. Or I'm getting the sense of someone who maybe once thought they knew who they were and is now not as sure. Right? Like, and this is it's something that could be happening in a smaller way that's not as dramatic, and it could also feel very dramatic depending on what's your actual situation is. So it'll vary for everyone, I'm sure, but there's some kind of rebalancing in priorities, rebalancing of what was once important to you is now just maybe not as important to you. Maybe there's certain changes you're considering making in your life to align more with what is now becoming more important to you. I feel like I just said that. I feel like I just said the same thing a lot in many different ways, but you get the point. And with no light here from Florence and the Machine, first of all, this says, you want a revelation, you want to get it right, but it's a conversation I just can't have tonight. You want a revelation, some kind of resolution. Tell me what you want me to say. And this could be your head speaking to your heart in terms of maybe your mental space has felt pressure to declare, okay, I am this person, I want this, and I'm going to do this, and X, Y, and Z. And because you're going through this sort of rebalancing, you're not as sure anymore what you want to do and who you are, and your mental space is I don't know yet. I'm confused. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. And it's kind of saying, letting your heart know, letting you know, I'm confused right now. I don't know which way to go. I don't know what I want. And I feel that. And it might be that you feel maybe even with the uncertainty that you're experiencing, because I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty in your mental realm. It's almost like you're feeling more pressure through that feeling of uncertainty to bring certainty to your situation. But I do feel like at this time, the uncertainty is there for a reason, and you might just have to wait out this cycle. Becoming, we'll take a look at the heart side as well. Maybe focusing more on reconnecting these two, and really honing in on that as a practice will help speed up that process, help you become more certain. But I do feel like your head is a little stressed, a little confused right now about which way to go, about what to do, and about what you really want. And then we have the Garden from the Crane Wives. And this says, hold your light to the darkness in my head, put your ear to my heart, or set your teeth against my throat. Give me something pretty to wear beneath my blood-stained clothes. So I do feel there's a light and dark theme happening with your head, where it's definitely some kind of shadow work, bringing things to light that were once covered, kind of deal. So if you aren't currently engaging actively in what you would consider to be shadow work, and you want to look into that and maybe do some of that, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but there's a lot of people who have journal prompts and things out there that can help you do that. So that could help bring some clarity to you if that resonates. And actually, with the word clarity, I'm drawn back to the clear quartz that you chose, because to me, clear quartz it's about clearing, it's about clarity. And yeah, there's definitely some kind of lack of mental clarity that you have right now, which is not a problem. It's part of the process. I don't feel like it's an imbalance that is permanent, or that is something that you need to be concerned about or worry about, but it might still feel quite uncomfortable. And so as certain things are coming to light in you, again, it's a process you might have to go through and wait out a bit before you feel like you settle back into a space where you feel okay, I know what I want, I know what's happening, I know who I am, that kind of thing. And remember, a lot of the things that we think we know are things that we've been taught, or we've just been running on subconsciously without questioning them for a long time. And you can always assess a belief that you have, or assess an aspect of yourself, and come to the conclusion that you want to hold on to it, that you want to keep it, that it benefits you. You can always do that. But usually your understanding or belief system around even the things that you hold on to will deepen, or you'll get to see a new perspective of it through the process of questioning it, or being confused about it, or not being as certain, right? So that can be a valuable experience that will bring more layers to your experience of life. And so I would say don't resist it. This feels like something that is naturally occurring. And like I said, for those of you who are interested in like actively practicing shadow work and maybe like would benefit from some journaling or some prompts or like looking into that, that could be something that could just be a confirmation for you to go for it, and know that might help bring some clarity to you, some a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, if that's what you feel like you've been kind of going through right now, is like a tunnel of confusion. And so let's move to your heart space. We have Closure You Like, from Lil Nas X, and this says, ain't no more actin', man, that forecast say I should just let me grow. No more red light for me, baby, only green, I gotta go. Pack my past up in the back, or let my future take a hold. This is what I gotta do, can't be regretting when I'm old. Yeah, so I feel like your heart is at a place where it really wants to like move into the future. It really wants to like make a move. And that's where your mind just might be like, I don't know if I'm ready to make a move yet. Like, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. And your heart is like, let's go, let's go, let's go. So that might be where some of your confusion is coming from, is that your head and your heart, like, it's kind of like the opposite almost, like I said, of group one, which kind of felt like where the heart was holding back, the head was like, let's go. And in this one, it's like the head is holding back and the heart is like, let's go. And so, yeah, I feel like whatever, you're going through right now is closing the distance between the two, but you're still in the middle of that process. We also have Hurricane Drunk, and this says, no walls can keep me protected, no sleep, nothing in between me and the rain, and you can't save me now. I'm in the grip of a hurricane. I'm gonna blow myself away. Which I got from this in this specific context. I feel like, again, it's like no walls can keep me protected. Like, your heart doesn't really your heart wants to bring down the walls. Like, it doesn't want to be protected. It wants to experience things. And your head might have been very protective of you in the past. And this could be like around like if there's specific circumstances that you're currently debating about, your heart could be like, let's go, let's go, let's go. I want to experience this. I want to try new things. I want to take a new path. And your head might be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought we were like staying safe, right? Like, I thought we were doing things this way. I thought we wanted this X, Y, and Z. I thought we wanted like for example, if you've got like a very, take this as it resonates, but if you've got like a very type A kind of brain or personality that's like, okay, like, I know what I like, I know what I want. It's this, this, and this. It's got to be in this order, this order, this order. Or like you feel like, oh, I don't like this and I like that. Like, you're very structured. And now you might be questioning some of those beliefs or structures, or like I said, some beliefs that you didn't even realize you were holding on to, maybe it was more subconscious, are coming to light and you're questioning those. It could be like, your head's like, wait a second, I thought this was our basis for how we move through the world. And now you're telling me you want to do something different? Like, what? And it might be a little scared. It's like, that's when people get on about like, your ego getting in your way. And I said this in group one as well, but it's like, that is in place to keep you safe, especially as a younger person, where you're less conscious maybe of some of the programming that you're getting, but also less conscious of like how to handle when things don't go your way, or you get hurt, or you're mistreated. And so your ego, installs certain belief systems to help keep you from getting hurt in ways that you've gotten in the past. But one thing that's important is that your mental realm, like, especially the programmed part of your mental realm, it's not a psychic, right? You can tap into like psychic abilities. Like, I fully believe in like getting intuitive hits and having psychic experiences and things like that, and opening up your mind and opening up your third eye, which is your head space. You can get psychic hits there as well, but it's different than trying to predict the future through like the logic that you've gleaned through years and years of like programming and trial and error. It's like, it's not that like that you're always going to be wrong about that or anything, or that your head is always wrong. It's not that either, but it's more like opening up to the possibility that the future will look different than the past, and that sometimes if you take an action from a different place or in a different way, or just the idea that things change, you change, people change. Even if you don't realize that you've changed, you have, especially if you're going through this kind of process now. I mean, like, even if you didn't get here consciously, your confusion right now is showing you that you are growing and changing, right? And that's why you're confused. That's why you're confused. That's why your ego is like, whoa, 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 what's happening? I didn't expect this, right? It's because you've changed, and some of the belief systems that you had in place previously are breaking down a bit and reevaluating, and you're being asked to open to something new. And your heart might be there already. Like, your heart is like, okay, we evaluated, we're ready to go, and your mind might just be like, I don't know yet. Like, I'm scared. Okay. And then that's okay. That's okay. One thing that's very important is, and I said this in group 1 as well, that the mind and the heart and every part of you, every part of your body and your spiritual body and your soul and your energy, whatever, it's all working together, and it's all supposed to work together. And so when there are some discrepancies and confusions and distances between the two, that can definitely feel uncomfortable. But you do want everything to be able to be on board. So your mind might need a little extra encouragement. It might need some extra love and care and some patience as you work through and let yourself change your mind, right? Let yourself, let your mind, like if your mind was a computer, let the software update, because it's like the update's already started to take place in the rest of you, and it's getting to your brain now, and your brain's just needing some time and some support to update. And so, yeah, doing practices that will promote that can always help. Like, always, your tools that you use for, self-help and things like that are great, but like also any new things that you can try that you might be drawn to might be worth trying right now, because you might be looking for something different than what you've done before. Yeah. So if for instance, if there are ways that you would like placate your mind or soothe your mind or like help your mental health in the past, and it's not working the same way it used to, or like your body, for example, like anything that you used to do to help yourself feel balanced that's maybe not speaking to you anymore, not working for you, I would also say don't panic about that. This might be also an opportunity for you to go with the growth that's happening and choose something new or something different to try and see how that works for you. It's time to experiment and get out of your comfort zone. And it doesn't have to be like so far out of your comfort zone that you're like terrified. Like, you don't have to push yourself that far, but like even just taking new steps to help yourself feel better in ways that you haven't tried before, that might be like the first step out of your comfort zone that helps you catch up, helps your mind calm down and be able to ease through whatever changes that you're going through, whatever new realizations that you're having. We also have chances by 5 for Fighting, again on your heart side, which says, chances are, when said and done, who will be the lucky ones who make it all the way. Though you say, I could be your answer, nothing lasts forever, no matter how it feels today. Chances are will be the combination. Chances come and carry me. Chances are waiting to be taken, and I can see. Chances are only what we make them, and all I need. So, yeah, your heart wants to take some chances. I think your heart wants to take some chances, and your mind is like, but which chances? Is it worth it? I haven't done this before. I never wanted to take these chances before. Now, why do I want to do that now? Why would I want to do that? Yeah, that might be happening. And it's like, sometimes you might be more on board, and then other days you're like, nope. And, yeah, that could be frustrating. But like I said, there might be different modalities and different things you can do and try to, with the intention of directly like helping yourself through this process, and also know that it is a process and it won't last forever. So things will become clearer soon. I don't know exactly when. Maybe your moon card will give us a hint to that, but also it's a process. You have to trust the process. Sometimes I hate trusting the process, but it's worth it. All right, let's get some quotes for each, and then we'll look at your moon card. So, okay, let's start with the heart for this one. So, group 3's heart. I want to get 3 quote cards to help ease your mind. And I'm actually going to specify that in this group, because I feel like that's what your heart wants to do. So 3 messages from your heart to ease your mind. Group 3's heart, please. This is, let's see, let's hope this doesn't take too long to get out. Group 3's heart. Messages from Group 3's heart. Okay, we'll take this. And then I'll shuffle one more time from this message from Group 3's heart. One more time. No? Okay, we'll take from this pile. Already, I'm just seeing like that, the leaves on that tree turning to gold for autumn, like, and things falling off. So, yeah, there's some things that might be falling away. Or some ideas that you've had about yourself and about life that are falling away right now. But it's part of the natural cycle because it's, and here we got 2 other cards. It's part of the natural cycle of life, just like autumn is in, places where autumn happens. And so it's nothing to be afraid of. That's a reassurance from your heart. We'll read those in a moment, but I'm going to get some from your head as well. Group 3's head. What do you want to say? Okay, we got lots of like squiggles. One more. Actually, we'll get it from this pile. One more for Group 3's head, please. Okay, we'll go with 2 more. We'll take the 2 more. That's fine. It seems like your head is a little bit more chatty. Okay. Okay, so starting with Group 3's heart. The first card, obviously with this tree. Yeah, my quotes just fell on the floor. Don't worry, we'll get those later. Things falling might be important for you. Like I said, autumn, fall. We are in fall, like in the very midst of fall right now when this is being recorded. So, in my part of the world, in the United States, northern United States. So like autumn, fall might be really important for you. Might be really symbolic for you. The poem that's on the back of this card is "Nothing Gold Can Stay" by Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, the hardest hue to hold. Her early leaves to flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. Wait a second. This, and then we have Take Me Back to Eden on the brains, on the... So your heart is trying to tell your mind that it's okay to lose things. It's okay to change. It's okay to let go. Oh my God. Your heart really wants you to know that it is safe to let go of things. It's okay for things to change. It's okay. And I don't know what it is that's changing for you right now, that's falling apart or falling away in your life, or that you are letting go of in your mental realm. I don't know what it is. And for some of you, it might feel like a bigger transition than for others. But regardless, your heart is ready. Like, your heart is ready to move on. Your heart is ready to move forward. But I think it's been holding back for the sake of because of your mind. It's been kind of maybe feeling a little bit held back. And it's telling your mind that nothing gold can stay. Nothing is meant to stay forever. And that's okay. That's normal and that's natural. And even if it's a little scary, it's part of the process. Like, autumn happens here not because of some kind of deficiency in the weather or the trees. There's nothing wrong with the cold. There's nothing wrong with leaves dying and falling off the trees. It's a natural process. The flowers and trees and plants, they fall, they die, their seeds get buried in the ground, and those seeds, are dormant, and over the winter they sleep and they rest, and then in the spring they germinate and they come out and then they grow again. And that's the thing, right? It's like autumn is a necessary resting part of the process. Letting go of things allows new things to come in, and that's what's happening for you. And your mind might just be experiencing some turbulence or resistance to that process, and that's okay. Let's just I'm doing this different for every group, depending on what I'm drawn to do. Let's read the rest from your heart. So we have this card, and this says, I give him the truth. I don't ask for his. I give him mine. The shames, the fears, the desires. I have made myself vulnerable to him. I have put my soul in his hands, and he has cherished it. And this is from A Seditious Affair by K.J. Charles, and that one made me feel some things for a minute. And I feel like it's because your heart really wants to be honest with your mind. Like, your heart really wants to have its desires acknowledged and seen and cherished. And this also could be a reference to, like, an actual situation in your life. So, take that as it resonates. But if there's someone that you want to be honest with, to share your truth with, to share yourself with, your mind might be resistant to it because it might be, like, protective, maybe a little bit afraid of vulnerability. And your heart is like, take a chance on this person, take a chance on this situation, and share what you want to share. Whether it's with an individual, whether it's in a romantic context or a friendship context or a familial context, or sharing your artwork with a crowd of people, like allowing yourself to be fully seen and fully vulnerable, and allow yourself to be cherished. And now, no, we can't always rely on everyone to cherish us, but there's also times when we feel vulnerable, we might push away anyone who might try, or we also might take things more personally than they are meant, without giving someone a chance to understand or explain what they mean in response to, you sharing yourself. You could shut down and run away, right? And this is saying, like, or sometimes, you try to go dig for someone else's vulnerability when really, like, the only thing that you can control is your own, right? So you have to be the one to open up and to share. And at least know that if you do that you are putting your best foot forward, regardless of what anyone else might say, regardless of what anyone else might do. Also doing that, I'm just hearing now, doing that, allowing yourself to be vulnerable with someone else, no matter what their reaction is, it's a message from you to yourself that you are cherishing yourself, that you are acknowledging all the parts of yourself and accepting them. And so I think your heart, first of all, wants you to know that in your heart, you do accept the light and dark sides of yourself. You accept all sides of yourself, the fears, the shames, the desires. You accept all of that. And at the same time, there might be a situation in your life where you can also extend that to someone else if, like, there's a specific, decision that you're looking to make or chance you're looking to take that would put you in a vulnerable position, right? And the act of giving someone else your truth, or giving yourself even your truth, it's vulnerable, but it's also such a gift, right? And not everyone might understand what kind of gift that is, but as long as you understand what kind of gift that is, you know that you held nothing back, and that you accepted yourself and was your very best self. And there will always be people who will accept that and who will cherish that. And who's honestly more important, right? The people who will cherish you and accept you and who need the real you to be in their lives, or the people who won't accept that, right? Like, what's really more important? And lastly on this, that one, I feel so many things about that. The last one I have on this side of things, the heart side, is, do you understand? For you, reality is not an external condition. For you, reality is a decision. And this is from Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. Yeah, so your heart is like, let's go, let's be decisive, let's make a move. Like, your heart wants you to decide. Your heart wants you to decide between your dark and light, but also, like, on a more nuanced level than that. It wants you to decide to really follow it. And that, again, might be causing some consternation or some internal difficulties, because right now what might be happening is that your head and your heart are kind of not quite connecting, and your heart might feel a bit like stifled, whereas your mind might feel a bit like frightened, which again can be uncomfortable. But it is a cycle that, if you're going through this now, you can know that, I feel like for a lot of you, take this as it resonates, but you might be encouraged to make a decision in some direction or make a decisive action, because that might settle things for you a bit. Like, because once you surrender to a path, then you take all the overwhelm that might come from having all these options open, and then you can focus on your one path, make the most of it, and allow it to play out in whatever way it will, rather than maybe worrying about making the wrong choice. You just make a choice and you make the most of it. And it doesn't have to turn out in any specific way for you to make the most of it, right? It's a journey, it's a process, and that's where the value lies. And your heart really wants to be free to explore that and not shut down by fear. Which again, I feel like you are on the path to really getting there, but like one thing that might help, like I said, is making some kind of definitive decision, even if you're not sure. It's just like a leap of faith. You're not sure. Maybe it's the quote unquote wrong decision, but maybe on the other side of that is a realization that maybe looking at things in terms of right or wrong decisions isn't even the perspective that you want to have anymore. Maybe there's something outside of that that's possible. And this kind of will help you explore that and get out of whatever mental cage you've been in. So on your head side, we have this. And this says, "Be not too eager to deal out death in the name of justice, fearing for your own safety. Even the wise cannot see all ends." And this is from Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. And yeah, so it's like, I feel like this is saying, don't be so hasty to decide that like something's not working or something is wrong, or that how something's going to end. Like a lot of you might be struggling with projecting into the future of certain paths and thinking, that's not going to work out. And you might be surprised. Like you might just really not know. And that might be something that's scary for you, is realizing that there's a lot of things that you just maybe don't know. Like you might have been operating in the past from this place of like, okay, like I know how this is going to turn out, so I feel comfortable. And you might just have come to a place where you're like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And it's kind of like getting yourself to a place where you're willing to make the choice anyway. And yeah, so you cannot see all ends. Your mind cannot see all ends. And I feel like you're coming to this realization now, which is why this is coming out on the side of your head, your head space. We also have this card with "Revenge wouldn't drive her, but questions, yes, questions would," from The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So yeah, I mean, for some of you that could be very literal, but for in general, I feel like this card often to me speaks of putting curiosity above the heavier, darker emotions of anger and fear and things like that. Like switching from a mindset of like, because also what your mental realm could be balancing right now is like this black and white thinking. Like, okay, something's either this or that. It's good or it's bad. It's right or it's wrong. I succeed or I fail. And this is like, let's get out of that black and white thinking and into curiosity, into a more process-focused perspective, because I think that's really what you're battling right now in your mental realm. And I say battling, that could be very dramatic, but it feels like it might be a bit of a battle. It might feel like a bit of a battle at this time, because if you're stuck in that black and white thinking, it's like one side versus another, as opposed to something more holistic, right? Listen, I relate to this so much because I feel like I've been kind of dealing with this kind of thing as well, where I feel like on a more holistic level, I'm like already beyond this sort of black and white thinking, but there is like maybe a part of me that's been deeply subconscious for a long time that's kind of realizing how many thought patterns there have been and how many actions that I might have taken or things I might have believed out of like a subconscious like black and white thinking that I'm just like so done with at this time. But it's like, ooh, the fear sometimes is like deeply ingrained. It takes time for that to come out. So if you feel like you relate to that, I relate to that as well. We also have this card which says, "Maybe things can always get better between people who want to do a good job. Maybe a good job of loving each other. Maybe that's all it takes." And this is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And yeah, I mean, and like I said, this could be like something related specifically to how you relate to other people or a relationship. But even in general, it's like, yeah, if you, in this quote is specifically about like having faith that another person that you can work together with another person to create a good relationship, and that if you have faith that someone else is also wanting to do a good job loving you, you also want to do a good job loving them, then, even if you mess up, quote unquote, or even if things aren't always smooth sailing, you always know that both people are willing to work through it and make it through to the end. And so for you, again, it's like going along with the more nuanced way of seeing things, where you don't see things as such black and white in such a black and white way, which, when I say that, that's something that can feel deeply ingrained on a societal level. So I feel like to some extent all of us deal with that kind of thing. It's just when it becomes a barrier to you having the life that you want and living in the way that you want. And for a lot of you, I feel like your heart is really wanting to move beyond that. It can feel like a real heavy burden to see things in a way that is combative and competitive, as opposed to something where people can work together. And in this case, like I said, it could be represented it could be like, you could see this playing out in relationships in your life, or in your perspective on relationships in your life. But I feel like it is ultimately about the relationship between like your head and your heart. The idea that one of them must win over the other. And I feel like maybe your mind space has been in that kind of subconscious belief for a while. But with this Three of Wands, I feel like there's a desire to connect. There's a desire to come back together and to work together, and to not feel like there has to be a battle or a war between them, like have them be able to reconcile, And with that we have, actually, I feel like I want to put The Garden, this song, that extra song that came out on the head side, under the middle card. Hold your light to the darkness in my head, put your ear to my heart, or set your teeth against my throat. Give me something pretty to wear beneath my blood-stained clothes. I feel like this is really like your head really wants your heart to illuminate it. Like it wants to shine its light, because it wants to understand, it wants to grow, and it wants to move beyond the limitations that it feels like it's been placed under for a long time. And it wants to listen to your heart. I also got the song in group 2, but Listen to Your Heart, obviously, is it Roxette? I don't know. The song that goes, Listen to Your Heart. Obviously, you probably know it, but maybe that's significant. But ultimately, like, your head really wants to listen to your heart now. It just might be having trouble getting out of that, like, space of, like, okay, there's only one winner, winner take all, as opposed to, like, let's work together and make something beautiful. And the reason that I thought of that was because we have this card here, these two people connecting. And this says, a guy that'll really listen to you, listen and care about what you're saying, is something rare. And this is from The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And I really do, like I said, I think this is about your head and your heart wanting to listen to each other. And especially, it might be your head right now, really wanting to listen to your heart, because, okay, stay with me on this. I don't mean to divide head and heart by gender, and I don't actually think it's ultimately meant to be a gendered thing. We all have a head and a heart. We all need to balance them. They're all parts of everyone. But like, if we wanted to break it down into like the idea that like there's more emphasis on like the head being the more masculine aspect and the heart being a more feminine aspect, and if you wanted to really break that into simple gender roles, you might imagine that like you're the way that gender has sort of played out in society in at least known history, at least recent known history. Obviously, there's been kind of a domination of like women by men, and like some people can simplify that to like the domination of the head over the heart. Not that that's actually technically what happened. Like maybe on some level, metaphorically speaking, there's resonance there, but I'm almost seeing it as like, for some people, you might see that play out in male-female relationships that have been significant in your life. Like you might have seen a disconnect between people in your life, like maybe like it could be parental figures. So let's just like say there's like a mom and a dad, and like we're being really stereotypical about it, but like let's say like the dad is like emotionally detached, disconnected, and really unemotional, and then the mom is like more emotionally expressive figure. And like maybe there's a disconnect between those two because they don't understand each other, don't trust each other. Maybe one is more domineering over the other, and in this case it would be the head, because the head is the one that I feel like has been maybe holding the heart back a little bit. in your situation. And so like what's happening here is like maybe the heart expresses something and then the head just shuts it down, doesn't want to listen to it, doesn't want to hear it, doesn't want to feel it, doesn't want to feel the emotion, right? And so because like this one aspect is emotionally disconnected, the other one is more emotionally connected, and there's just like a shutting out of the other one. They're not listening to each other, but especially I feel like the head maybe hasn't been listening to the heart. And so there's an imbalance there. And so I feel like that's what I got from this quote. A guy that'll really listen to you, listen and care about what you're saying is something rare. Like maybe your heart feels a little bit neglected by your head because it's been shut out and it's been shut down, and your emotions haven't been listened to and haven't been respected, and your head has kind of overridden a lot of things, again, maybe out of a protective impulse. And maybe part of your I don't even want to say like, because I feel like distrust was something that was more of group too, but maybe for some of you there is a distrust in opening up to your heart because there is a feeling of like can your head actually like follow your heart? Can it listen to your heart? Like, is it trustworthy? Like, you know, like a resistance to feeling the emotions that are in there. And I really feel like what's happening here is a desire to open back up, to listen, to be attentive to your emotional needs. And that is really going to help bring you back into balance and help clarify things for you. But you've got to start respecting your emotional body. You've got to start really respecting your heart. And for a lot of you, you might have already opened up to that idea. You might be on that road already. And, you know, there might be more resistance for some of you, you know. But I feel like for most of you, you're in that process. And it's just a matter of maybe highlighting and acknowledging that that's what's been going on. And acknowledging that there might have been some conflict there. But that distance is clothing. The distance is clothing. No, the distance is closing between these two, I do feel like. And yeah, you just really, really listening to your heart, like, is so important for this group, especially. I feel like that's where the imbalance has been, is like your head has been kind of maybe not, like maybe just shutting it down a lot. And it is wanting to invite it back in. And there just might be some discomfort while that's happening. Okay, let's move on to your moon card for additional advice or context, and then we'll close it out. So on the Moonology card, we have the energy is gaining momentum, waxing moon. Yeah, and I feel like the energy, it could be, if there's anything specific that you've asked about to clarify for this reading, then yeah, the energy behind that. But also like the energy of the union between your mind and your heart, like reconnecting and really listening to your heart and getting into your emotional body, that's also gaining energy. Like, I feel like a lot of you have been working towards that, whether consciously or not. And so that is the direction that you're heading in. And it feels very positive. So let's take a look at the booklet for additional information. Waxing moon. No? Okay. We're going to have to look in the back. Pardon me. No, that's waning moon. We're almost there. Waxing moon. Okay. So waxing moon, we have, during the waxing moon cycle, hope springs eternal. This card is a very positive omen, indicating that you can create the reality you're dreaming of. Do you understand? For you, reality is not an external condition. For you, reality is a decision. Yes. You're dreaming of, though it will take some work, and you're not quite there yet. This is a time of energies rising up. Emotions are building too. Yes. Okay, so this build up in emotion, I mean, maybe this is connected to the moon for some of you. If you pay attention to the moon cycle, you might notice, and that might help you like sort of figure out where you're at in terms of these energies. But maybe that's like also why your heart has been, maybe you've been feeling a little bit of turbulent, because like the energies have really been coagulating, they've been building, and so there's been maybe some extra pressure building up within you. Where do you want to go, and do you believe you can get there? Either you can just keep meditating and focusing on your desired outcome, or you can make the courageous commitment to take more practical steps towards your goals. Yes, and with the pentacles in both the head and the heart, I do feel like this is like about taking practical steps. And maybe, like I said, like you're in the process of like weighing out what practical steps to take. Where do I go? And like I said, your heart might be feeling a little held back right now, and waiting for your head to make that decision so you can move forward. Whichever you decide, though, you are most certainly on the right track. Yeah, so it's up to you. You don't have to jump into any decisions out of pressure. Your decision can be to sit back, meditate, and like really dig into yourself more, or it can be to take some kind of leap of faith. It's really going to be up to the individual on this one. Attuned to the moon. I know I'm headed in the right direction, so that's a good affirmation for you, because I feel like that is really your biggest concern, is like, am I going in the right direction? And it's like, even if you don't know where you're going, assume that you're going in the right direction. Because again, getting out of that black and white thinking of like, oh, either I'm right or I'm wrong. It's like, maybe you're just always right, and maybe just the way that things happen is a lot more nuanced and different. It doesn't have to be exactly what your mind imagines it to be. Additional meanings for this card. This situation is full of potential. Your dream can come true. More effort is yet required. Are you willing to give it? Review your goals and ensure you're still committed. And keep moving forwards. So, yeah. I do feel like that's a very hopeful energy. I feel like a lot of you are going to be moving out of confusion soon, but also that it's okay for you to be in that confused state right now. It's leading you to somewhere. Trust the process, and really meditate on these messages between your head and your heart, and decide what they really mean for you. And I feel like there might be insights that you've even gotten from some of these quotes, songs, or things I've said that that go deeper than even anything that I touched on. So really, really sit with this, I think. For a lot of you, it's important to really sit with this for a bit and feel into it. But yeah, I feel like something really good is building for you right now, and clarity is on its way. We have the quartz here, so clear quartz, and that's all about clarity. So don't worry, it'll happen. You'll figure it out. There's nothing you need to figure out, I think, is ultimately the takeaway, though. You don't need to figure things out, but you'll feel better about things soon, I guess. Okay. Cool. I hope that resonated. That's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. And if you are interested in personal readings, I do offer some personal, written, emailed readings on the website store, and then also one-on-one or recorded tarot session available on the services page of the website. And that's as of the recording of this episode. So if it's years later, things might have changed, but if you're close to the time when this is uploaded, within the next year or so, take a look, see what we're offering, and the website link will be in the description, sunflowerphilosophy.com. And please comment, or subscribe. I'd really love to know how this resonated for you, and have a wonderful life. I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye. Hi, Group 4. If you selected this cherry quartz, then you're in the right place, and this reading today is a conversation between your head and your heart, as I said in the intro. And I wanted to let you know before I get started that if you do have a specific topic or issue or thing that's been on your mind that maybe you've been confused about or haven't been sure which way to go on, you may want to focus on that and see if any answers or any potential guidance comes up related to that in this reading. But you can also just go into it with an open mind and let whatever wants to come through. So yeah, we're talking about your head and your heart, metaphorical, literal. Both of them are kind of the same thing. And I did pre-select a Moonology card. Ooh, in this one I actually called it a Moonology card. In the other ones I just called it Moon cards. All right. I feel like that's a good omen. I don't know. And so we're going to put this off to the side actually for now and just get right into selecting cards for your head, your heart, and the energy between them, so we can get an idea of where they're at and what they want to communicate with each other as well as you. So I hope you don't mind. There's a little bit of extra sunlight happening over here. I hope the glare won't be too rough. It's just a different time of day and more sunlight than I had in the other groups, so we're just gonna have to live with that. But I think it's kind of nice. It's a really nice day out, so let's see. Group 4's head. Okay, we'll take that. So right out the gate, Group 4's head, this, like, I barely even asked the question and it popped out, but it feels right, so I'm taking it. We have the Believer, which is actually the major arcana in this deck that is most sort of similar to the High Priestess for your head. And then for your heart, Group 4's heart, we have the Queen of Rings, aka the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, very feminine energies happening here. All right, and then the energy between the two of them. Let's, please have it popped out. What's the energy between Group 4's head and heart at this time? What? Okay, interesting. We have the Six of Steels, aka the Six of Wands, reversed, and then we do have the Fool, the Dreamer, and the Innocent on the back of the deck, and I'll put that over there in case that becomes relevant. But let's start here. So first of all, like I said, a lot of feminine energy with the High Priestess and the Queen of Pentacles. Now, with the Six of Steels, which is also the Six of Wands in the middle in reverse, it's possible that there is some kind of disconnect right now between your head and your heart, or they might not be exactly on the same page, except that their energy, you know what it is? Because the Believer or the High Priestess is like a very intuitive card. It's about your intuition. It can be related to your like deep subconscious, even like the dark feminine aspect of someone, no matter what your gender is. I feel like almost like it's referencing something subconscious. Like I feel like there's a subconscious alignment between your head and your heart, but it's not obvious. Like it's not something that you're aware of right now. You know, take that as it resonates. Because with the Queen of Pentacles, like that's a very feminine energy as well. And I would say very intuitive, but more down to earth, like very grounded, very, ooh, okay. So for some of you, like you might be opening up to a new set of beliefs or trying out a new belief system, or there's something working in your subconscious that's opening up your belief system now to something maybe more intuitive or in the higher realms. Like maybe for a lot of you, you find that you tend to be a more grounded individual, or more, yeah, even though you're watching a tarot reading, maybe you tend to be more, like you might not be as in touch with your spiritual gifts or less in tune with your intuition, or you might just be more like less consciously in tune with them. For some of you, others of you might resonate with being very intuitive and very, very aware of that. But I feel like with the Six of Wands here, there is an aspect of it that you aren't aware of at the moment that's coming to the surface more, or will be coming to the surface more soon. It almost feels like these two, your head and your heart, are working together, but like behind the scenes, under the surface, and it might not yet be a conscious thing for you, which is really interesting. We have the Dreamer and the Innocent as well, which I feel like could represent your head and your heart. There could also be a significance around like your inner child. So the child aspects of you as well, take that as it resonates. But the Dreamer and the Innocent over here could also represent like your head and your heart, the dreamer, the dreamier aspect of you, the innocent aspect of you. And that's why it's possible that some of you might be working on actually grounding yourself and becoming more grounded in your body, which is shifting your intuitive perspective. And like I said, it might not be showing yet. Like you might not be seeing it quite, you might not be quite aware of it yet. But there also might be like aspects of you that you are subconsciously or actively shifting around your child self, around your innocence, maybe opening up with the Believer here. I feel like your mind might be opening up a bit more to the subconscious, to the more intuitive, to the higher realms or higher perspective, to spirituality even a bit more. And you might just be, whether you consider yourself already a spiritual person or not, you might be opening up to another level of that, if not right now, very soon. There could also be a significance with your dream space that's like something significant is happening in your dream space that might give you clues to what exactly this is all about. But I'm actually going to do something I didn't do in the other groups, and we're going to keep this card off to the side so that it can be on the bottom of the deck, but we're actually going to get another card for the energy between to clarify the Six of Wands. One card, please. One card, please have it pop out. Just clarify the energy between head and the heart for this group, please. Clarify the energy between the head and the heart for this group, please. Clarify that Six of Wands reversed. Is there anything else significant about that, please? Have a card pop out, please. Clarify it. Okay, Ten of Blades. Okay, that's the Ten of Swords. Creator on the bottom of the deck now, which feels significant, but I'm still going to put that under. Oh, that's like, yeah, that's 21. So it's almost like 0 to 20, the full cycle. Yeah, so there's some kind of cycle that you're closing right now, which is why I feel like the Six of Wands is in reverse, because it's happening maybe behind the scenes, or you might even be feeling right now like you're not, like, because the Six of Wands is a very, like, it's a showy card. It's victorious, and it's something that's, like, recognized. You're getting recognition, right? That's, like, the whole Six of Wands energy. And I feel like a cycle is being closed out, maybe possibly a difficult one with the Ten of Blades here. And like I said, it might be happening behind the scenes more subconsciously, and it's something that is working to unite these two aspects of yourself if they're not fully united already, but it's working in both realms to bring you to a place of, I feel like union with yourself, like just a higher sense of like peace and maybe even inner joy, and something that will maybe even help your intuitive gifts up level if you have been wanting that to happen. But yeah, it's like a cycle is closing, and it's just not quite fully closed yet, but it's coming to a close right now. And I get the sense that it will reveal itself pretty soon, like the fruits of that change that's happening. And it could have to do with some mental cycles around belief, like around your belief systems, around even like a belief in yourself, or a belief in certain things or certain possibilities. There's just something opening up for you right now. And for some of you, it could be very much behind the scenes. But we're going to get more information by getting some quote cards. So 3 for each side. So for your head and your heart, what they want to say to each other, what they want to communicate with you. Actually, wait, in the other groups I did the song cards first. Okay, we'll start with the song cards, and then we'll get to the quotes. So, group 4's head and heart. We're going to start, who are we going to start with? We're going to start with the head. So 3 songs from group 4's head. What 3 songs are for group? Interesting. That song came out in another group. So did this one. You know what? We're going to put this one back in because this one came out, I think, in like 2. And I'm going to put it back in unless if it really needs to come out, it will pop back out again. If it really needs to come out, it will pop back out again. But give me 2 more songs for group 4's head, please. Okay? And 1 more song for group 4's head, please. 1 more song for group 4's head, please. Have it pop out. 1 more song for group 4's head. That's like a million songs. 1 more song, please, for group 4's head. Okay, we'll take that. Okay, we'll take I'll take all those. We have No Light, No Light by Florence and the Machine, It Gets Dark by Sigrid, and Fix Me by 10 Years. Okay. And then, yeah, that glare is kind of annoying. For Group 4's Heart, Group 4's Heart, songs from Group 4's Heart, please. 3 songs. Please, Group 4's Heart. What does Group 4's Heart want to say? Okay, we have one coming out first. What? And we have this one. And for the third song for Group 4's Heart, come on, one more song. Group 4's Heart. What do you want to say? What do you want to say? Okay, fine, 2 songs. We'll take it. All right. Oh, interesting. 2 songs that are by the same artist. Okay, so we have Isolation by Alter Bridge, again by Flyleaf, Savage Daughters by Alexia Evelyn, and Hold On, also by Alexia Evelyn. So, as always, if you want to like check these songs out on your own and see if there's more messages for you in the lyrics, please do so. But yeah, so, okay. Let's start with No Light, No Light. And like, okay, so there's definitely something that's happening in your subconscious right now, for sure. Starting with No Light, No Light by Florence and the Machine, we have, you want a revelation, you want to get it right, but it's a conversation I just can't have tonight. You want a revelation, some kind of resolution. Tell me what you want me to say. And this actually came out for another group's head, so there could be messages for you in another group here. But to me, that's like no light in this context. It's really like something that's not been brought to the light yet, or that is being brought to the light. So there is something working in your subconscious now that you might not be fully aware of. You could be dealing with some like weird symptoms or like weird things happening, like I said, in your dreams. And I will say this, I've been having some weird things happen in my dreams recently. So sometimes I take that as like a broader sign for maybe some of the groups I'm going to be reading for, some of the things that happen to me when I do readings. And that could be your subconscious really trying to tell you something. But it feels like either it's still in the process of being illuminated, or maybe it only has just recently come to light. But it also might be something that's being worked out for you behind the scenes that you might not ever get full clarity on, or because with the Believer, it feels like a very intuitive card. So it feels like something where it's like you're moving through it intuitively. You don't even necessarily have to consciously know or consciously work to have something like shift in your subconscious. I feel like it's just happening. And we have It Gets Dark, which says, it gets dark so I can see the stars. And I do feel like this is an up-leveling for you somehow. Like something is really being processed at the moment that is moving you towards new horizons, moving you towards bigger, expanding you. Because that's what this song is all about. It's about expansion. It's about expanding your perspective. It's about like you've just naturally outgrown certain things, and so you are expanding beyond that. And I think it's just happening at the moment. So you might be noticing your perspective on certain things changing, or you're getting more tapped in maybe to like a bigger picture of something, either in something in particular or in general. You're seeing the bigger picture of like your life or existence, you know. And then we have Fix Me by 10 Years, and it says, I'm fine in the fire, I feed on the friction, I'm right where I should be, don't try and fix me. So that does feel like wherever you're at right now, it's not something that needs to be fixed, or it's like not whatever's happening in your subconscious, or even if you're experiencing, it could be actually what you're realizing, or what's coming to light is a belief that there's nothing wrong with you. Like that could be something that could have been a core belief, or something that was really deeply embedded in you, that there was something wrong with you or something wrong. And again, you don't have to be conscious of it. It could be something that's just being processed now. But that could be something that's ending for you right now. You're realizing, oh, like I'm actually fine. I've always been fine the way I am. and maybe even certain things that you thought were, or you saw as a problem in like your thinking or in your feeling, you're actually coming to the realization that it's always been okay, that your thoughts and feelings have always been valid and not something to critique or not something that was wrong with you. And there could be, like, obviously if you are struggling or you're dealing with any health issues or things like that where you need to reach out and like get help from someone, that's totally like do that. And if you are doing that, that's great. Because here's the thing, right? When I say like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, like the idea is that none of us have anything wrong with us. We're not broken. We don't need to be fixed, even if sometimes we feel that way or we think that we do, right? That's a very valid thought and feeling to have, but it's not the actual truth, because there's more to us than our physical experience, but also because a lot of times we're led to believe, or certain belief systems are instilled into us that make us feel either like overtly like there's something wrong with us, or like subvertly, is that a word? Like subtly make us feel like we're not right, or like, we don't fit into the system or things like that. And it's like, there's actually nothing wrong with us. So getting help from like doctors or individuals who can help you in certain aspects, like going to therapy or getting like energy healings and things like that, that's not about fixing you. It's about helping you feel more in touch with who you truly are through various methods and tools that are available, right? And that's something that you can do as an act of self-love, to reach out to someone else to help you, because sometimes we all need help and we're all in this together, right? We're all part of one collective that, no matter if we don't always get along at times, we also are part of each other, right? And so you might have shifting beliefs now around like yourself and your place in this universe, and like what it really means to take care of yourself and respect yourself. And you might be shifting from a place of like, I need to be fixed, to a place of I'm already whole and perfect the way I am, no matter what I'm feeling or going through at the moment, And also, I'm sorry if you hear like someone doing their lawn or something in the background. I hope that's not too obnoxious. Maybe I'll close the window over here. Hold on. All right, I closed the windows. Hopefully that's a little bit better. But anyway, yeah. So I feel like your subconscious and your mind, that's all. There's definitely some kind of shift that's happening underneath there. Now, when it comes to your heart, it's interesting because we go from isolation to again. Both songs about sort of going through it, right? About kind of struggling. Isolation says, isolation brings you to the end until you love again. Isolation, if you could only see what will come to be. Maybe you'll find a life you can live and learn to love along the way and make things better. And again says, I love the way that your heart breaks with every injustice and deadly fate, praying it all will be new and living like it all depends on you. So your heart might have been through it. I feel like that's a bit of a theme for everyone's heart here, and everyone's mind. Because one of the reasons that, this is an interesting thing to explore is that I feel like a lot of people have struggled with heartbreak of varying degrees in varying ways. Because heartbreak is not just, like being broken up with or leaving a relationship. It's like, it's grief. It's like losing people in various ways, and it's also potentially looking out at the world and seeing things that are difficult that other people are going through and feeling for other people and things like that, right? And so you might have dealt with a lot of that, a lot of overwhelm when it comes to the world around you. You might be someone who prefers to isolate yourself. You might have been going through a period of isolation for a while, and your heart might have been sort of protecting you, or you've been protecting your heart in doing that. And with Savage Daughters and Hold On, it's interesting because these songs are very much about reclaiming your heart, right? Like reopening it, but in a way that's empowered. And I do feel like with the Queen of Pentacles, which we saw underneath this, that's something that you're doing potentially through the act of self-care in very physical ways, in terms of like taking care of your body, taking care of your energy in whatever way you do that, whether you think of it that way or not. I feel like that is helping you open back up to your heart, and maybe other things are happening in your life to help you open that as well. And I feel like it's been a slow and steady process. You know, Pentacles are very slow, but they're very grounded, very physical suit, like they're your physical reality. So I feel like you've been opening back up to the world in some way. And it might be a slow and steady process, and it's one that takes a lot of self-care, but I feel like it's really working for you. And with Savage Daughters, we have the lyric, "Let me sing louder for all the voices who can't sing, breaking down those barriers that keep your heart held within. I will be a warrior. Oh, I will be a sister for you." Yeah. And for a lot of you, like, this could be about also tapping into your feminine energy. Again, no matter what gender you identify with or what gender you are, you know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We all have feminine energy in us, and there's been an imbalance in that in society because, at least in a lot of places around the globe, I won't speak for everywhere, but sort of overall, in a lot of places, there's been sort of a, you know, like a denigration of femininity and the feminine sides of everyone, right? And whether you identify with feminine energy more or not, we all have both, and these aspects of ourselves deserve to be balanced and well respected. And I feel like you are, consciously or not, coming into balance with your feminine energy at this time, and coming at, like, opening your heart back up, like I said, from a place of empowerment where you can be a light for other people as well. Like, you know, you can see how others can be there for you when you need it, and you can be there for others through your empowerment. Breaking down the barriers that kept your heart held within. Like, that's what you're doing, right? You're feeling, it's feeling like a little bit of like a warrior energy here. You might really like these songs, Savage Daughter and Hold On. Lyrics for Hold On say, I don't know if you can read that, but it says, "Never give up on love, never give up on us, never give up on love, on us, on trust. Dance the hurt away, dance it all away." Yeah, so there's definitely something important about your physicality. Like, you might be doing more things like yoga or dancing, or that could be something that could be helpful for you in opening up to this energy. But I feel like if that's something that you've been doing, it's really working for you. Also, I just see there's like a huge like fat squirrel outside, and I love it so much. I don't know, that squirrels to me is looking for like nuts and things. It's cute, and that's very grounded energy too. Like, you know, going out and grounding, being in nature as well might be really beneficial for your heart at this time and help you in this process. Touching the grass, literally. And yeah, I do feel like you're making this transition is opening up your heart, and it's directly connected to what's happening in your subconscious, in your mind. But again, like, it might not be as conscious of a process, or not. It might be something like where you're taking these actions and steps, and you might have the intention of, in general, of taking care of yourself and maybe even opening up, but you might not be aware of exactly how that's happening. And for some of you, you also might not feel like you're in the best mental space or the best place right now as well. It's possible that some of what's coming to the surface, or some of like what's happening in your subconscious, might even feel a little bit rough, especially like our subconscious is what controls our body. So if you are having like any physical symptoms that you're concerned about medically, definitely go see a medical practitioner. I'm not giving medical advice here, but I will say that maybe you've been getting more in touch with your body, and sometimes that's not always comfortable, because sometimes there's things going on, like there's energy moving that's like a little bit uncomfortable, and so there might be some discomfort with those shifts. And overall, I feel like that, like, again, if you are concerned about anything, go to a doctor. But I would say that for the majority of people who chose this group, like, you're really just going through a natural shift that is part of the work that you've been doing, whether you've been consciously working towards something or not. Like, it's happening for you, and it's just in the process of transitioning right now from, like, maybe a difficult phase into another newer, easier phase. But I feel like this victory is just below the surface. Yeah. So now let's get a few quotes for each. We'll start with the heart for this one. To clarify any further messages. Okay. Yeah, and there's definitely, for this group here, like your feminine energy is definitely important and it's being healed, I feel like. Okay. Let's see. Group 4's heart. Any additional messages in the form of quotes? Okay, 3 quotes. Anything from group 4's heart, please send them out. Send out the relevant quotes, please. Yeah. Okay. Nope, that's too many. Come on. Group 4's heart, what do you got to say? Okay. All right, we'll take both of these, and then I'm going to just shuffle from the other pile that I have of quotes to get the last one. I love to see that green and gold just on this card over here, by the way. Green is one of the energies of the heart chakra. It's one of the colors of the heart chakra. So I do feel like there's some kind of clearing happening there. And again, it's slow and steady, and it's very connected with your physical body and your physical, like anything you're doing with your physical body that's helping it, that's nurturing it, is helpful. Okay. Clarify. One more quote from the, okay, we'll take it. All right. And then we're going to get from the head now. We're going to get from the head. Oh, actually, let me lay these out first. Let me lay out each of these quote cards from your heart. There we go. Oh, also with the song Hold On, the last one from the heart side, sometimes when I get an extra song for one of the sides, I've been putting them under the energy in between. And I feel like that could be relevant for this group as well. Hold on, meaning like, you know, your head and your heart shouldn't give up on one another. They are very much, actually, I'm going to take both of those. And one more message from the head. One more message from the head. They're very, like they're just going through something right now. But I do feel like they are very connected under the surface, like I said. I mean, everyone's is, but you know what I mean. I feel like they're working together in a way in the subconscious. This from your head. Okay. Let's do it like this. Okay. So first from your heart, we have this card, and it says, love is also a force of light and nurture that liberates you to inhabit the full of your own difference. There should be no imitation of each other, no need to be defensive or protective in each other's presence. Love should encourage and free you fully into your full potential. And this is from Anam Cara by John O'Donohue. I forget the rest of the title, but there's a different Anam Cara quote came out in another group. And I don't know if I've had Anam Cara quotes come out in any other readings yet, so it's exciting for me. It's a very lovely book. It's very spiritual, very much spiritual, and also grounded in like the traditions of also I just realized this has been so crooked this whole time. Oh, that's so annoying. Anyway, can't do anything about it now. I think they've all been kind of crooked this time. Whatever, it happens. Very grounded in like old Celtic Irish traditions. It's Anam Cara means soul friend, so the idea of soulmates, soul friends could be really relevant to you, but also it's like, yeah, what it's saying, love is a force of light and nurture that liberates you to inhabit the full of your own difference. Like, I think like what you're opening your heart up to is the acceptance of your difference in the face of other people's differences, and the acceptance of other people's differences as well. So like full self-acceptance as well as full acceptance of like everyone in your life, everyone around you. And maybe even specific people or specific relationships, like opening yourself up to just full unconditional love in a very healthy and natural way. And yeah, it's such a beautiful book. This group might really benefit from reading that right now. Also, I want to look at this card. We have, all negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances and sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. So this is from The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and I think this really actually goes with the above quote because, yeah, I feel like what your heart needs is for you to stay present, for you, and any grounding techniques, anything that you're doing with your physical body, anytime you're spending time in nature, you're really, I'm sorry, this is bothering me. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Is that good? All right. Hope I didn't just make it worse. Anyway, see, look, me not being present right now. An example of what not to do. Be present. Anything that you can do to be present with your body, especially right now, like I said, like things like yoga or dancing or just really feeling yourself, working out. But like when you're working out, like be in your body, really notice what's going on with it. Do your breathing. Like if you're lifting weights, you're exhaling when you lift up and inhaling when you lift down. You know what I mean? Right? Like being really present will help relieve your mind if there's been any like toxicity in your mind or things coming to the surface from your subconscious. It's like because you're unearthing it from beneath the surface so it can be removed. And a lot of people I think are dealing with that right now in various ways. And I feel like for you it's really coming through your body and taking care of that. And staying present is like anytime your mind starts to maybe drift to bitterness, resentment, guilt, things like that, whatever, if you have any practice in place to deal with that, like, use them, be present enough to notice when it's coming up and like address it, but also feel free to let it go and do anything that you can to really just breathe into your heart and be with yourself. Because I feel like that's what may be part of the cycle that is being represented by this 10 of Blades here. That's part of what you're letting go is some past resentments and maybe future anxieties, like things like that are being released right now. And then we also have this card, which says, what we know matters, but who we are matters more. And this is from Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, which goes really well with Fix Me. And that, like, I think you're really coming to be at peace with yourself and who you truly are. And that's what's being facilitated through whatever cycle is ending right now, is a new level of peace with yourself and accepting who you truly are, getting more in touch with who you truly are. And this is really a balancing of the head and the heart in terms of like what we know matters. Yes, our intelligence, our mental space, that's important. And the things that we take in and the things that we learn, and you can maybe really value your logic and your intelligence and things like that, but also it's not who we are. What we know is not who we are. And I think you're really getting in touch now through this cycle that's ending with who you truly are underneath even the thoughts and the things that you know and things you might have identified with in the past. And I do feel like it's bringing you to a greater place of peace, whether you feel that right now or that's where you're headed towards. And that's something that it just feels really empowering, really positive, really great. And again, might not be obvious to you at this time. It might still be taking place, but I do feel like it will become obvious to you soon. And then from the head, we have this card with, I think you know how to love better than any of us. That's why you find it all so painful. So this could be a thought that you've had recently, maybe some of the intense pain that you felt or heartbreak that you felt, or even if you haven't felt it, like even an unwillingness to feel heartbreak or a like shoving down of your emotions or disconnecting and isolating yourself so that you don't have to feel emotions or you don't have to be like connected to the suffering in the world and things like that. It's because you are quite sensitive And that's not a bad thing. And I feel like, again, you're coming to realize that. You are coming to realize, oh wait, there's nothing wrong with me. The fact that all of this is overwhelming for me, or that things have been too much for me, or that I've been hurt and affected by things that have happened in my life or that have happened to other people, that's not something wrong with me. That's not a problem to be fixed. It's something that feels like a problem that needs to be fixed when you are in a society that tells you that you just need to be up and running at all times, like a machine, working. And even in terms of, especially like in Western capitalism, although it's a system that doesn't have to necessarily be evil, it kind of can be used like in evil ways sometimes. And that's something that is also something that I feel like we are maybe transitioning away from, or at least transitioning into, if not away from that, at least with a healthier relationship with it, where it's less about disrespecting our bodies and like the bodies and minds of other people, and it's less about control and hopefully more about, love and sharing the wealth and like ingenuity and creativity, right? Like those are some of the strengths that we could bring out in that system that are kind of not really working for us right now. And that could be a difficult system for sensitive people to really function in, because you feel like you can't be sensitive, you can't have your emotions, and you can't care about people the way you want to in a system that doesn't really want you to care about people. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you're really coming to the realization that like you've been fine this whole time. It's just that you haven't necessarily fit in or meshed with some of the belief systems that have been presented to you. And also that it's not a failure or anything. There's nothing wrong with you that you are deeply affected by the world around you. Like, that's empathy. That's caring about people. That's normal and natural. And it's true that you can get to a place where you are more at peace with your own emotions and feelings, and you're able to hold space for people without taking on the suffering of others. You're able to, be fully engaged with life and not be in a constant state of avoidance. And you're able to, and I think through a lot of the grounding things that you have been doing, or ways that you've been taking care of your body and perhaps your mind as well, but I feel like there's a big focus on body here. I feel like you've been bringing yourself more to that place of feeling comfortable and safe in your own body in such a way that you feel more comfortable and safe in the world around you. Even if there's a lot of turbulence going on, it's like you're realizing that you can be empowered in those spaces and you can be empowered around other people, but also that it's a balance, right? It's not completely cutting yourself off from everything, but it's also not feeling the suffering of everyone all at once. There's a way to balance that out. There's a way to take care of yourself, and there's a way to really live and love life, and to also be there with reality when it's in front of you. You know what I mean? And I feel like your mind is really acknowledging that and recognizing that, and that's, again, it's coming to the surface as a re-examining of any beliefs that told you that there was something wrong or with you or broken about you, that you experienced things so intensely, or that you can be sensitive and overwhelmed at times. Like, that's really being, the word I just heard was eradicated, so maybe it's being eradicated from your mental realm, like the idea of any possible brokenness within you, which sounds like a pretty good thing. But we also have this card from your mind which says, "It seemed funny to me that the sunset she saw from her patio and the one I saw from the back steps was the same one. Maybe the two different worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset." And this is from The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And yeah, there's like definitely an emphasis here on both your head and your heart side about being okay with difference, and like being able to both acknowledge and love the differences in yourself and others, and then also being able to see how maybe everyone isn't so different after all. Maybe you're not so different from the next person. And it could be about a specific relationship in your life. It could be about aspects of yourself that you're bringing together. It also could be like broadening your perspective so that you're feeling more in touch. And I feel like, again, this might be something that's coming to the surface now, or in the process of coming to the surface, but like a broader perspective on humanity and on existence at large, where you feel more connected with everything and everyone. and you have that more like that feeling of like oneness, you know? And if that's not where you're at right now, I feel like that's where this is leading you to. And if you resonate with this, like you're already halfway there, if not there already. And then we have this card as well, which says, you only have one life, make the most of it. And this came out in another group too. This is from Holes by Louis Sachar. So yeah, I feel like stepping into whatever new cycle that you'll be stepping into as you come more online to a deeper aspects of yourself, as you, again, I think this is opening up your intuition, because if you're not suppressing your sensitivity, if you're embracing that more, you will become more aware of your intuition, because like that's part of it, right? You might be an empath. This might be, I mean, I feel like everyone is empathetic in different ways, or most people have that, whether you're tapped into it or not, but I feel like you might be someone who's always been more sensitive in some ways or another, and you might not have always realized it. You might have just seen it as you being weak, or it as being a bad thing, or you just being like someone who's crazy, you know? You might have dealt with a lot of anxiety, felt like you were going crazy at times, and I think now you might have, I think you've, with that Queen of Pentacles, really come to a much different place with that throughout possibly years for some of you of practice and of reassessing your belief systems and of taking care of yourself in different ways. And I feel like you're coming to a place where you're stepping more into your power, and again, like, yeah, tapping into your intuition more. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be someone who's been doing this intentionally, like in terms of you might not see it from this exact spiritual perspective, or you might not, you know, use words like empath and intuition to describe yourself, but at the same time, I feel like that is more or less what's being tapped into for you. Like, you don't have to consciously be working towards that specific goal in order to come to a place of more acceptance with yourself. And then also notice that you're very intuitive, that you are more open to receiving information than you might have thought, and there might be things that you actually like know more, like psychic powers you might tap into that you might not have realized you had before, or just are experiencing on a deeper level. And that's what happens when you start to heal your mind and body and bring them together in a way that's empowering for you. And that's where I feel like your mind is opening up to the possibilities and wanting to really open up to living a more fulfilled life and making the most of life. And it feels overall just like a very positive energy. And I do feel for some of you, you might be a little bit up and down. I think most groups might be experiencing some ups and downs in their mental and physical space right now, but I do feel like overall the changes that are taking place are very positive. And so let's move into the Moonology card and see what that is all about. So I don't remember what this one said. Let's see. Oh, it's time to release negativity. Full moon in Scorpio. I hope you can still see the Ten of Blades, by the way. I can't tell if it's fully in the picture, but yeah, that feels like releasing negativity. This does feel like it's all about releasing negativity. And yeah, and I feel like that's what's happening. If any of the things that I was saying about like you taking care of your body doesn't necessarily feel like what you've been doing right now, putting more emphasis on taking care of your body might help you release negativity. But I feel like that's really what's happening. Like I said, for a lot of you, maybe even under the surface, or in ways that it's like some of you are doing this intentionally and you know, and you've been wanting to do this. And then others of you, it's just happening. Like you might not have been thinking intentionally, I want to release like negativity and release certain energies and get into a new headspace or new cycle, but it's still happening that way. But regardless, I do feel like there's an aspect of everyone in this group that isn't fully aware of exactly the extent to which it is happening, and might even be concerned at times that like, am I getting more negative? Are things getting worse? And it's like, no, they're not. But sometimes becoming aware of something in the moment, you might feel like it's getting worse before it gets better. And so for some of you, that might be happening, but only take that as it resonates. I don't think that always has to be the experience that you have, but it's also good to know if you're in a bit of a difficult headspace or you're going through some difficult things right now, that it's not like everything is not just falling apart, right? Like it's working with you and working to help you. So let's read this full moon in Scorpio from the booklet. We are in Scorpio season right now, so it makes sense. It's fall, it's autumn. That's when, trees lose their leaves. Releasing negativity really just means releasing old energy that's no longer useful or appropriate for you. We don't even have to look at it in the terms of negative and positive, but it's things that just are stagnant within you that would hold you back if you held on to them any longer. So things are being released right now, just like the trees are releasing their leaves. It's the time of year. I'm recording this the day before Halloween, All Hallows Eve as well. So maybe there's just like a lot of intensity going on right now for some people, and that's kicking up some stuff. But regardless, I do feel like this is the process that you're going through along with the seasons. If you are in the Northern Hemisphere in the fall during Scorpio season, like I currently am. If not, it doesn't matter. It's still what's happening. You can still take the metaphor. But, okay, so we have, if you've been feeling paranoid and acting weird, take this card as a very direct message from the cosmos to stop it. Worrying yourself is pointless. It's time to release any negativity you have around the situation you're asking about. If someone has been unkind to you, perhaps it's time for you to release them. This card heralds an emotionally intense time, since both the full moon and Scorpio themselves are both extremely intense. So yeah, there could be some intensity happening right now in your subconscious. And yeah, well, like I said, it could be intense. It's time for you to feel all your feelings. There could be some nastiness in the air when you pull this card. If that's the case, take it as a sign to move away from anyone or anything you feel is toxic. For some, however, this card has a totally different meaning. Am I allowed to say that, YouTube? Your sex life can improve now if you make an effort. Use your magic. You have all you need inside you to bring about your desired result. And that last message there, that could be relevant for some people, so take it as it resonates, but like also like getting into the body and healing things around that, like that might be part of the process for some of you, is getting in touch with that aspect. So take that as it resonates. And then we have Attuned to the Moon. Emote. It's all better out than in. Yeah, so some of you are releasing things and you might be emotional right now. And don't resist that. I feel like a lot of you who are watching this are already aware that that's something that you need to get in touch with and that you've been wanting to get in touch with and that you have been working to get in touch with, but you might just need the little encouragement or the extra support, letting you know that it's okay to feel your feelings and that is happening right now because it's a natural thing for you to do. And it's the right time. It's just releasing things. It's just letting things go. That's all it is. Additional meanings for this card. It's time to move from living fearfully to living joyfully. You're right about you're right to have your suspicions. Grudges are toxic. Let something go. And the end of an argument. And I do feel like some of you could have been asking or could be dealing with some anxiety or tension or resentment, even guilt or regret yourself regarding differences between certain people or things that might need to be resolved. Maybe your emotions are close to the surface over certain things like from the past that you need to let go of. So, there could be various ways that you address that, either having a conversation with someone or if there's something that you need to just let go of within yourself, you can, if you've been called to focus on that, definitely do so. And don't be afraid to let things go and do that in the way that makes the most sense for you. If there has to be a conversation or if there can be a conversation that will help, definitely, do that. And if there can't be conversation or if you don't know if that's necessary, if there's just some things you need to let go within yourself, do that. But it feels like, there's like definitely a release of negativity that's happening that I feel like is very positive. Like it's a very good thing for you. And I feel like it's something that for some of you, you might need to hear that like you're not doing anything wrong and you're not being punished if you feel like if you've been feeling more deeply lately, or if like your emotions have been close to the surface, or you feel like, like if you're feeling a lot of negativity come to the surface, you might be worried that I'm becoming so negative, I'm doing something wrong, I'm not. It's like no, that's not at all what's happening. You are fine. You are just releasing things. And again, if you do need, help in some way, professionally or medically, like, do not be afraid to seek that out. But also know that you are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. You can ask for help. People can help you out with things. That is an act of self-love when you need help to ask for it. But it's not because you need to be fixed. And I feel like that's something that's really important for you right now to remember and realize, is that that you've always been whole, and you've always been completely valid as you are. And you are really, I do feel like you're moving to a place where you're going to be seeing brighter days on the other side of whatever negativity is being released right now. And it's stuff that might have held you down for a long time. So be patient with yourself. Let the process. And yeah, I hope that this has been helpful for you in doing so. But that is all I have for you right now. So I do hope that this was helpful, that you enjoyed this reading, and please like, comment, subscribe. I would love to know how this resonates for you. If you are interested in a personal reading, we do offer personal readings on our website, sunflowerphilosophy.com. I do personal readings at this time, and I have options for emailed written readings in our store, and then I also have options for a one-on-one or recorded reading in our on our booking services page. And those are at the time of recording right now in October of 2024. So if you're watching like way later down the line, offerings might have changed, but check out our website and see what we've got. And if you, I don't know where I was going with that. I think it's time for me to close it out. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, if you want hypnosis or human design services, we do offer those as well. That could be helpful for some people out there. So if you're interested, check that out. Link in the description. And thank you so much for watching. Once again, have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye.